Cutting the music early today, folks.
Too much to do.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
All right, I told everybody I was going to end it a little bit early. All right, we got a big show today. Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. It is Free Will on Friday, August 27th. Look, I was going to come on yesterday. I was so mad I didn't trust myself to go on a podcast or a video. So, I have to apologize to the locals community because I really did want to do it. I was just, even on locals where I'm a little bit, let myself fly a little bit, I couldn't do it, guys. I was really, really pissed off. And more pissed off by the responses.
Yes.
Than, well, no, I mean, I'm just mad. I was just mad overall, So big show today. We have Joe Nierman, all right, and we all got to stay together when this happens to us. And we're going to talk about it, all right? We'll walk the line because we're on YouTube. Mm-hmm. We'll walk the line, but we're going to talk about it. And Joe is now where I've been before, where Eric has been before, where Allison has been before, in Twitter jail for having a conversation. So now we're at a point now where a professional who is an expert on his field can't even discuss the relevant information without getting in trouble. All right, so appeal, we'll ask him how that appeal is going. We'll have Caroline Craze on. She is now the field director for Look Ahead America. We'll check in with them to see what they're doing. And, of course, my good friend Don Smith from the Don Smith Show. So with that, and we will talk in between about polling. Definitely want to fit that in. The mandate. We'll do that in the second hour. Look, the AP, folks, I get a lot of questions. I'm just going to add this before I bring in Joe. The AP is about as accurate now as they were before the 2020 election. The AP is about as accurate now as they were before the 2016 election when they had Hillary Clinton nationally plus 14 points. If you cannot poll an election, you cannot poll public opinion on issues. If you cannot poll an election, nobody gives a damn what you have to say about something so important like how many people support impeachment. Mm-hmm. The president went on to win the most votes of any incumbent president ever in the history of the country, yet we were supposed to believe a majority wanted him removed. A big majority, including 20-something% of Republicans in their crappy poll. All right, so I'm going to bring in Joe. Can you hear me okay, buddy? All right. Hey, welcome everybody. Joe Nierman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic, to Inside the Numbers. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. If you don't mind me correcting you a little bit on what you referenced, I'm actually not in Twitter jail. I'm in YouTube jail.
I said Twitter. I meant YouTube.
Yeah, that's okay.
I did mean YouTube. And we're under assault from everybody. We're under assault. Fight them down over here. Beat them down over there. Yeah. I mean, so look, let's try to dance on the line here. But let me ask you this. Is it legally, and you're a lawyer, and for people who don't know and watch the show, fantastic show, check it out. You can find them on Locals right there, goodlawgic.locals.com. When it comes to vaccines, mandates, all right, or the juice, the Fauci juice, not just Fauci juice, but all juice. When it comes to what is the legal standard here, Joe? And is that what you got? Tell people what you got in trouble for, and then why. I mean, it's pertinent to the conversation.
I'm genuinely concerned to discuss, to put those two words in the same sentence, even veiled, because
you do whatever is comfortable for you.
Not for me. Look, I'm on your show now, not for me, for you.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm serious. I'm really serious because I'll tell you.
Robert dropped the I word on Monday. I almost had a heart attack. I was like, oh my God, did he really just say that? Even I don't do that.
I don't even know the I word you said.
Yeah, it's you're not allowed to say it, and it's an alternative to juice that it's what Brett Weinstein got in trouble for talking about.
Okay, well, okay, so I got a warning. My first, the way YouTube works is first, if you do something they don't like, and they feel is a violation, they give you a warning, and then that warning stays on your channel forever. And
Yes.
then if you do something a second time, you get a strike, and they give you 1 week suspension, which is what I'm facing now. That lasts for 90 days. And then during that 90 days, if you do something again, they give you a second strike. That's 2. And then a third strike is you're banned forever. So I got my warning and my strike for the exact same topic twice. And was putting those 2 words together in the same sentence, which is talking about Fauci juice and laws about it. So I'm on that particular issue, when I got a warning and a strike, and that's the only thing I've ever gotten a warning or a strike for.
Yeah, you've never had a problem.
I'm what I'll just tell you in broad terms. What I did was I showed a clip from CNN director Rochelle Walensky CDC director Rochelle Walensky talking to Wolf Blitzer of CNN and explaining why it is that we need to wear stuff even if you've gotten, and saying stuff that basically, there still is, she's saying that there's still stuff out there, and that made me reflect about, well, okay, if that's the ramifications, then why should we have laws? Like, it shouldn't matter to anyone. And this was considered, and I want to be clear to your viewers, as I was to my viewers, that when it comes to this issue, you really, really should talk to your doctor about what's right for you. Right. So that's more important than politics. It's something I think that does get lost. I tell
people that all the time.
Yeah, and I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Not a doctor.
It's pretty stupid to play politics with your life. Yep. So really talk to your doctor. Your doctor knows what's best for you, and get their advice as to what's best for you. I have issues with laws. Maybe it's because I'm a lawyer. Maybe it's just because I'm an American and I believe in freedom. So when people are telling me this is what you have to do, I have questions about what is the agenda, and is that agenda actually being served? And if it's not, then really, are we just listening to authority for the sake of listening?
For the sake of, and that's what I was going to ask you next. So, we don't even have to get into the specifics to ask these questions, what the implications are of this happening, right? And of course, I got the usual, when I retweeted you, guys have to support each other when this happens. I get the usual idiots, all right? One is a doctor. Right, but I looked into him, and he's not actually a medical doctor. All right, I mean, which is this is unbelievable. I'm not going to look you up if you come at me hard like that, So I look at it, and he's not even a practicing psychiatrist. All right, so this is not somebody who is an expert in this area. But he said, if you don't like, if you don't like that platform, make your own. And the problem, of course, with that is we're still in the public. I mean, there are many. You're a lawyer. We're still in the public space. But even if that was true, you can't make your own when monopolies come together. They collude, let's use their word, collude together to squash your new platform, which we've seen happen over and over and over again.
That's happened to Parler.
It happened to Parler, and I imagine others will be next. Once they get big enough. Like with Parler, when I joined Parler as an alternative, I had almost as many followers on Parler as I did on Twitter very quickly. So far, other channels have not been able to duplicate that, or social media platforms have not been able to duplicate that. When they do, I strongly suspect that's the point at which they get targeted, Joe. So they kind of leave them alone at first until. But what we don't have to get into the specifics to talk about the implication here and talk about ask these questions, and that's my fear. So it's now not getting to the point of, and you were labeled with the double MI, right? So that was what the reason
they called it
strike.
COVID you talking about the strike? Yeah. COVID. They said COVID they said the strike was for COVID misinformation. That's the
okay. But you're really let's get around that. The point is, if we're going to do this, then it's not even a matter of that anymore. It's a matter of simply you're questioning authority in some way, shape, or form, and it's that becomes the issue. That becomes the real issue.
And you're hitting the main point, and that is the only information I really gave out there. And I actually put the clip out. I put a clip together on Odyssey because everything I did was mirrored to Odyssey. So even though they took the stream down, I was able to take it and just segment exactly what the whole topic I was talking about, which was 13 minutes long. And during that segment, twice you know, one of the things YouTube wants you to do is they want you to, you know, advise your viewers to go talk to a doctor, and that's an easy thing for me to do because I really believe it.
Yeah, me too. I do too.
So I do, you know, I told him that twice during that 10 minutes, and the only information I gave about this disease was a clip from the CDC director. So I'm like, how? And then I started questioning, you know, the logic behind laws based on her words. So and that's what you're saying is correct. It wasn't even like I was really talking about the disease. I was really talking about, okay, if we take this, we start with the premise that she gave us, the CDC is giving us. So how does that flow towards where we're at now, which is not even about talking about disease, just talking about it's talking about how we respond in a way that's logical. So
yeah.
That's what was frustrating, and made it seem as if it was really about. I mean, look, technically, someone pointed out that technically I might have misstated and you know, or misunderstood something she said. It was just bizarre. I mean, it really, I can't imagine was anything, because Robert Gruller told me that he also that he got a warning for airing the exact same clip.
Yeah, and
they don't want that clip out there. They don't want that clip being shown on YouTube.
It seems like to me this is becoming a pattern. So that happened with Allison and somebody else, and I'm not going to get into that clip. I think we all know what it is by now. If you follow Allison, you know, that's what happened to her. That was the start of it, you know, and then you get a bullseye on your back. And then from there, it's just one ridiculousness after the other. And, you know, with me, I must have said 5 times, I'm not rendering a judgment. This is what is being said. It didn't matter. It simply did not matter. And then they shifted the goalpost to after, because we did appeal it, and I'm interested to see if you got a response. But they shifted the goalpost in the middle of the appeal and said, you know what, actually, we don't have a problem with that one. It's the one before. And I said, what do you mean, the one I read literature? This is literature. And I played, again, what I did was play a clip of an official in the UK explaining why they made the decision they did, which was, by the way, she referred to that literature. So I was reading that literature. It's just nuts, man. It's nuts. But did you hear back from them at all?
Yeah, they actually got back to me really quickly and said appeal denied.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's exactly.
It was way fast. I thought I was going to wait like 2 or 3 days, and I submitted the appeal at 8 p.m. and apparently before midnight. I didn't even notice the email till the next morning, but before midnight they had already said, get out of here.
There was like maybe a couple of hours afterward, I noticed that that one, the original one that was taken down, was back up, and I'm like, oh, good. This was a mistake, you know. And I was like, I'm a bit of an idiot like this still. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, you know, and we've had such a good relationship with them before, you know. This is the thing that really bothers me, is that they should know by now how reasonable I am, you know. I just don't understand. They go just like militant. Maybe it's like musical chairs. It's somebody else's cubicle that day. Maybe
I think that if you're coming from the position we're coming from, they're just going to be scrutinizing us by a different yardstick, and it's something we need to learn to deal with. And that's why I said, in general, like, I'm terrified to talk about this topic even on someone else's stream, because God forbid if I say something that ends up hurting someone else, I'd feel like awful.
Feel bad. Yeah,
I feel awful. So
I'll tell you, man. It's almost like there should be some kind of a policy if you do have a guest or something, because it's almost like you really can't stop. I learned that. I learned that on Monday. It's like you don't know what's going to come out of somebody's mouth, and you know everybody knows rules ahead of time. But I mean, I went back and looked at the video. You could see I about had a stroke. I was like, oh, you know.
I can imagine. Yeah, I wasn't yanked midstream. I wasn't yanked midstream. I don't know how I would have reacted to that, but
yeah, I mean, I was like delayed trying to cover it up. It's just too late, you know. And then I did think about it. You know what? Maybe I need to think about a 30-second delay if I'm going to continue to stream to YouTube. This way, if somebody says something, I can, you know, just bleep it out or something. You know, go on War Room. They're delayed, right? I mean, they're delayed. I know some, you know, cable news is typically delayed. So maybe that's what we just got to do. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's a good way to try to learn to live with it.
I'm such a boomer that even with the delay, I don't. If I heard something like, literally the
Me
worst
too.
word on the planet, like the only outlawed word on the planet, and someone said it on my stream, I wouldn't even
You
know.
wouldn't know.
I'd be like, what? How do I get that off? Like I'd be
Yeah.
like freaking out. So
That sheet, and for people who don't know, there's a spreadsheet. I got it from Nate the lawyer, and there's a spreadsheet of these things you need to avoid. How
but
could
how
you
are you going to
possibly
memorize that
go?
list?
That's right,
Like,
Joe. Come on,
it's
is that
too
even
much
possible?
information. It's just too much information. That's not. I mean, I got the same sheet from Nate, and I was just like, there's literally 6 million words on that. I'm supposed to sit there memorizing which ones are green, which ones are yellow
It's
or red. Like,
overwhelming.
yeah,
It's overwhelming. You
and
know.
they change, and it also changes. So like, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do my best and use common sense and
I
pray. I don't
sent
trip.
yeah, I sent it to a friend just yesterday. It was the first time because he now is about to be monetized, and
Mhm.
they had been kind of playing with his hours. They were kind of disappearing. It was weird,
Mhm.
hours viewed, and he's like right there, and I said, okay, you know what? I wish somebody had done this for me, before, but here's this list of things to avoid, and he was like, what? I mean, it's people, folks, it's so daunting. It's impossible. You need like I don't even know. You need an algorithm to scan your audio as
It's
you're going.
impossible.
It's impossible. It
Yeah.
really is. It's nuts. It's a standard you can't
I
live
think
by.
speaking in code words probably help, like things like saying like, Fauci juice or whatever. That probably helps, as far as not tripping the algorithm.
Yeah.
I'm not always meticulous about that on my own stream. But
But you said it before though. Does it really help the conversation too? And I'm looking. Rasmussen reports. They sent it to me this morning before they released it. I hope they released it by now because I'm about to talk about it. But so if it was embargoed, whoops. Yeah, he is. His favorability ratings are cratering, and he had some. Even I know because I polled it myself. He had some very high marks, and I think this is this not the danger of what they're doing? They're hurting trust by not letting people talk about this. Sunlight is the best cure for distrust in any system, right? I
yeah,
mean, transparency. If you do this to people, you just create more suspicion and more, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, distrust. That's
the
it.
lack of the lack of transparency just creates greater questions. I mean, that's what we saw back in November when people put posters up to block windows. That's what makes everyone outraged.
Yeah.
Much more than anything else. It's like you're clearly trying to hide from us what you're doing. When Joe Biden calls on a preset list of people, he's basically saying, I will not talk to people unless they've been screened and cleared and we know what the questions are. That's another type of block, that the only people who have access to me are people who we're willing to admit and we know are going to be friendly to us. And because we don't want to share actual questions, or try and give real responses to actual questions.
So,
And
yeah.
It's funny, but here's I'll give some hope and optimism to your audience, and in two fronts. I'll give them a life hack and hope and optimism. So the other day I went to a rally by union workers in New York City, down by City Hall, against these laws. And people from teachers unions and stuff, thousands of people were there. I actually went down when I was going down to the rally. It was a hot day, which is why I bought this hat. And when I bought this hat, I actually I realized the implications of it, because I was like, when you travel in New York City on the subway or New Jersey Transit, if you're on New Jersey Transit especially, the conductors there, you're required to wear a face mask. And you're required to wear one of two things. You either need to wear a face mask or you need to wear a $15 hat. Because if you wear a $15 hat, what happens is the conductor, he basically walks by everyone. And the last time the conductor threw me off a train, said, you don't have a mask, go get off. You got to go get a mask, get on here. This time, he just sort of half glanced at my he looked at me, half glanced at my ticket, and just kept on moving.
Oh
and
my God.
My Twitter, Facebook, my Twitter cover picture now is me sitting on the train, like smirking that I'm wearing the hat and no mask. And everyone else on that train has to wear a mask, but you just put on a $15 hat. They don't ask any questions.
God.
That's your life hack. Okay. if you're living in New York City.
I forgot what it was like. I've been out of New York City for so long. I forgot that there are definitely different rules for different people.
It's not legal. It's not legal advice. I'm not telling you. I'm not giving you legal advice. No one should misunderstand that. I'm not telling you it's going to work. My understanding is I do not believe that there's any sort of issue. Someone might be asking out there in your audience. I don't know. I'm not watching the chat, but someone might be asking, "Is that impersonating an officer?" No, I don't. I'm not saying this as a lawyer. I'm saying this just as a person. I'm not giving you personal advice. My personal opinion is I do not believe there's any issue of that kind at all. That's I'm showing my support for NYPD, and I don't think there's a problem with that. So,
it's a pro tip, in the NYC. It's a pro tip.
There you go.
That's just it, man. I mean,
but the reason for enthusiasm that I referenced earlier is because at this rally, there were progressives, liberals, conservatives. It was all, and they were proud of the fact that they had people of different stripes. And, the coordinator of the event is saying I'm a lifelong Democrat and I've always been voting blue, and and a member teacher for whatever. And I'm urging all teachers to, he's basically started calling to defund the teachers union unless they stand up for teachers and stop them from being compelled to follow these new rules. And these rules are coming. They're coming. These rules are coming down. While I was there, I found some officers, some clerks who work in the court, and I asked them if the court had mandates, as far as for employment, and they said not yet, but we know it's coming. And literally 30 seconds later, someone said, "Oh my God, I just got the email that as of September 27th," and I actually tweeted it out. I was like, "This is breaking news." That it was like I sent the email 2 minutes. I sent the tweet out 2 minutes after they got the email that went, all through the court system. They're telling by September 27th they have to comply or leave your job, and that's going to come more and more with what the FDA has come down on about Comirnaty. So
so I was going to ask you about the anecdotally about the experience there, because I did see that on Twitter. Because when we polled it, which is why I'm mocking the AP poll, because it's a joke. It's garbage. When we asked about passports, it actually was pretty much even. But then when you get specifics, which was Robert Barnes's idea, he said, but wait a minute, ask about specifics, what it means. So at restaurants, schools, kids for schools, right? Employer mandates. And we went down the line, and it was just abysmal across the board. And on that specifically, it's funny because we didn't find, a big partisan gap. I mean, there was, but not a big one. And there were two groups of people who supported that. And that was people who make over $200,000 a year individually and also have a postgraduate or more kind of degree. Everybody else, workers, which is the biggest reason the AP headline is a joke, because they're specifically focusing on workers. We found workers were upside down, double digits, Joe, double digits. 38% supported an employer mandate. 58%, basically, 57 point something, was opposed to it. And that was big chunks of liberals, big chunks of Democrats. This is just not true. Yeah. It's just not true. And that's why I wanted to ask you. You saw that there then.
I saw that mixture there. I actually was talking to an attorney who spoke there, who's from the Children's Defense League Fund. I think it's the agency that Rob Barnes is working with. Yeah. And I asked her, I asked her directly, and I told her I was an attorney, and she was one of the speakers there. So I got her for like a minute and exchanged emails with her for purposes of seeing maybe I can bring her on my show. And I was asking her, I said, to me, the strongest argument is the 14th Amendment, because, these laws when it comes to just general, let's talk about like, MMR or Spanish flu, vaccines. So these laws have been approved by the courts, mandates about those have been approved by the courts for 120 years. So, in that from that perspective, it's not a new thing for a court to give its blessing. And as Robert Barnes correctly points out frequently, it's all a matter of lizard brain. Do I like it? Do I not like it? And if I do, I'll find a way to justify it. And if I don't, I'll find basis to get rid of it. Is that how all judges work? I don't know. Personally, I believe Robert Barnes overstates that a little bit. But I think if it's he makes it sound like every case is like that. I think it's probably like 60 to 75% of the cases are like that. It's enough of a majority that you have to expect that that's what you're walking into. So even though my percentages might be lower, it's for practicality purposes, it's splitting hairs, because who knows what's going on in that judge's mind that day. But I think the 14th Amendment
of the court, you're all going to have this apply to you soon.
That was part of my tweet. Like that's coming next. That litigators, they can say you want to come into court, if you want to litigate. That's what in the initial tweet when I shared that, I said Ron Coleman, lawyers are next. Ron Coleman.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. So and we litigators are. If you want to go into court, I mean, look, we haven't been going into court very much since the lockdowns. Most of our stuff has been virtual. So I haven't had to set foot in court since lockdowns. And I've had, many appearances, but they're all online. So when if it gets to that point, I don't know. I'll cross that bridge. Maybe I'll put on one of this hat and see how that works. So
last thing, you think there'll be a legal argument where you'll be able to make to say, well, here's the bottom line. I've been doing it by Zoom, and I just elect to do it by Zoom.
I mean, it probably depends on the judge and the nature of the case and who it probably depends on who you are and who the judge is as to whether they'll let you get away with it. Almost like the same way they're going to predetermine a case, they're going to predetermine that decision, I think, based on how they feel about you and about your case.
Actually, I lied. One more. So do you think if you do it by Zoom, it's less powerful? So let's say it's no doubt,
it's terrible.
Right? It's terrible, right?
Yeah, I almost wouldn't ask for it, only because I would feel like it's a disservice to my client.
To your client.
Yeah, it's a disservice. It's a disservice to your client that, I'm sitting here, the other person standing there in person, and I'm going to sit in like some corner thing, like the people can't watch me. If people aren't, look, I know that like at least 25% of the reason I'm going to win is because people like my face. So if I'm stuck in some corner, what am I going to? Then I got nothing. I got no game. I got no game. What am I gonna do? It's terrible.
Yeah, man. That's good stuff.
No, your physical presence in front of them. Part of the idea as litigators, you want to command respect. You want to command respect, and you cannot command that on a flat screen. You just can't. It's not the same
somebody
thing.
who's done voir dire, that just sounds like a nightmare to me, Joe. I mean, it's like you have somebody who is present. It's in control of the conversation. It's so much easier to gain presence,
and especially on cross, because you want that person sitting in that chair to feel your presence, to feel like a certain nature of you want them to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be shook by a guy on a Zoom screen.
Right. You're not. No, you're gonna sit there. It's like, I'm gonna be scared of this guy. Click.
What's he gonna do? Is he supposed to like lean in to put the pressure on you? Answer the question.
Right. Yeah. I want the truth.
I want the truth.
It doesn't do anything. Doesn't do nothing. Great. Nothing on TV.
Tell people where they can follow you, Joe, and just so everybody knows, we're gonna have Joe back, a lot. So I'm
looking forward to that. You're always a great chat. We
had a great time on your show. If people didn't see that, go back and check it out. Go check out Joe's show, and we had a great conversation.
Yeah. So my channel is called Good Lawgic. I live stream nightly from Sunday to Thursday, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern time, and occasionally I put out videos also. And I've got locals, which is goodlogic.locals.com, which is where I'm able to talk more freely and not have to like mime and do like and stuff like that. I actually can express myself the way that our founding fathers were hoping we should all be allowed to express ourselves.
Well, thanks for joining us, Joe. We'll see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck with everything, and with that, it is what it is, and we just move forward on it.
Good, right? Godspeed, my friend.
Godspeed, good Sabbath, all the best.
Ciao.
Guys, check out Joe's show. He's got a great show. And I'm going to have him on more often, especially when things, we're probably going to set like a normal set time, but especially when there's something going on and we need a good legal opinion. You know how we are over here, guys. We are not the hive mind. We absolutely love different opinions. And we do What Are the Odds on Monday, but for Inside the Numbers, it will be a blessing to have Joe with us. All right, so I'm a little bit late with her. I want to keep her forever here.
1 minute.
All right, we've had Matt Brainerd on from Look Ahead America before, and we're following up. We've been keeping a close eye on what's going on with J6. I didn't get the graphics. I wanted the graphics uploaded, but we'll talk about that with her, right? So, field director for Look Ahead America, who is making a little bit of a splash today in New York, Caroline Craze. We're going to bring her on. Caroline, you can hear me? Thanks for joining Inside the Numbers.
I can hear you, Rich. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine. So, just real quick, because I had planned to talk about something else, and then I got the email in the inbox, which I definitely want to talk to you about as well. But why don't you go ahead and tell people what's been going on?
Yeah, happy to talk about this. So I don't know if your audience has been paying attention to what we at Look Ahead America have been doing, but this morning, Matt made an announcement that he is filing complaints along with another group to the Human Rights Committee at the UN. He is currently in New York City right now. He's actually doing a press conference in about 30 minutes. And it's basically a complaint saying that, these people from January 6th are being imprisoned, and it's not right at all. They're being held against what should be going on, and it's not justified. So he is filing a complaint to ask that the UN take a stand, because we've been trying to reach government officials, different state officials as well, and nothing's been working. So he's been moving on to the next, which we believe is the UN. And then he also is asking that foreign governments put sanctions on these responsible individuals as well. So we've been making a bit of a splash this morning, like you said.
Yeah, so and I want to go check that out when we get off a little bit. But a couple of weeks ago, well, about a week and a half ago now, we conducted the public polling project, and what we did was basically ask people their opinion. We understood the media narrative was going to be so strong that we didn't expect it to be completely even. Hold on one second. You can hear it just fine.
No, they're good. My sound is off.
Okay, so yeah. That we didn't think it would be completely even on what America generally, nationally, viewed of the January 6th protesters, but we knew that there would be a difference between nationally and in the District of Columbia in the court system where these people are. And we do this a lot. We've been hired by lawyers before to conduct voir dire, to show the judge, look, we need to change a venue. These people can't possibly get a trial in this area. And I didn't have the graphics to come up to show you, but I could just tell you what it is. There were a lot of undecideds nationally. A good chunk of people who just said, look, I don't know that much other than what the media is telling me, but maybe the crowd largely was peaceful. I don't know what they've been charged with. If you compared that to D.C., and again, it does slant against them, but not as badly. If you compare that to the oversampling in D.C., there's almost nobody who's undecided. They believe they know 100% these people were insurrectionists who are all charged with violent crimes and attempting to take down the United States government. It really is disturbing because there's not even a willingness to say, let the court system play out. There's like no innocent until proven guilty. The jury pool is tainted, is my point. Why? I don't know if you have any insight into that. Has anybody tried to get out of that venue and go into another, maybe be charged in Virginia at least, or a different district in Virginia?
Yeah, so I don't have too much information on that, but I will say that we've been working extremely hard to make some noise about this. I think that DC is extremely biased, like you were saying, and it is honestly sickening what's happening to these people. They're being denied their cancer treatment. They're being held in solitary confinement. And I think the mainstream media has played a large role in that bias for the jury as well, because they're being threatened too. If they don't see it how DC sees it, then they're going to be threatened and possibly attacked, and they're scared. So I think that's a great thing that we should definitely look into if we haven't already. I think the main thing that we're trying to do is make some noise, get more and more people heard, and making sure that the political prisoners have a voice. Since they're not allowed to speak for themselves, we're going to be that voice for them.
Before I ask about Ashley Babbitt, that's a good lead into what you're doing moving forward. So tell people, what Look Ahead America has planned next month. And, it's like a snowball. Keep rolling it until it gets bigger.
Yeah, so Look Ahead America has been hosting rallies. We've done 2 in DC the past few months, and then one we have coming up in September on the 18th, which is a few Saturdays from now. And the first one was held across from the DOJ. The second one was held at the prison where the people are being confined in DC. And this one, we're taking it back to where it all started at the Capitol in Washington, DC, September 18th at noon. I will be there, Matt will be there, the rest of our staff will as well, and we're expecting a pretty large turnout. But we're really there to make some noise, demand that justice is sought and that these people are released because they're not being held. Like I said, it's not justified, and it's just, again, sickening what's happening. And so we're holding a rally a few Saturdays from now, and then we're also hosting state rallies across the country as well. We have over 2,000 volunteers nationally who are led by our awesome state volunteer coordinators, which is what I mainly do. And we have around 15 states committed to holding rallies there as well. So those will be on the 25th. If you're interested in joining one of those rallies, you can go to our website and we'll be posting the location information as well as the times on when people can attend those rallies and get involved.
And Look Ahead America on Twitter, folks, or where you can go to lookaheadamerica.org. You guys have put out, and I've scoured it, you guys have put out a database which made my life a lot easier. Somebody in locals asked me, do we have any idea where these people come from around the country? Is there any concentrations? And I'm just a numbers guy, so I wanted to look. And then Look Ahead America put out a database, and you can go through it, and you can see not only where these people are from, who they are, but what they've been charged with. So when, Caroline and Matt and myself and others, are telling people, it's truly amazing how much power the media does still have, Caroline, because you can go through an actual database. People don't want to take the time to do it. I urge them to do it because these people are not charged. Most of them are shotgun charged with the same kind of crime over and over. So, unlawful behavior in a Capitol building, unlawful or trespassing in a Capitol, whatever it may be. It's the same crime, just repeated and doubled up because of location, which makes sense. But, we did see this guy break his silence yesterday who shot Ashley Babbitt, this police officer who broke his silence. Lester Holt, and this is what gets me. Lester Holt, who otherwise would be all over a police officer in any other situation, who shot an unarmed person if BLM was involved. All right? So if this was an inner city cop, black, white, brown, whatever, and they shot an unarmed black young man for resisting arrest or whatever it may have been, they would be all over this, Caroline. Instead, Lester Holt gives this guy an entire platform without hearing from the family, without giving the husband a chance to say anything. I looked at the video, it stinks. But to me, I do see situations where you could shoot an unarmed person. He's claiming he couldn't see Ashley Babbitt's hands. She's halfway in the window. She's using her hands to balance herself. There's no way he couldn't see her hands. He shot her honestly, it's what somebody who was there told us they thought it was, which was, they're not really used to being under pressure like this. Capitol Police, they're not really the same as other police officers around the country. And somebody who was there told Laura and I that he just looked shook. And he got scared and squeezed the trigger. And he panicked. And he is claiming he saved lives. What was your take on this interview yesterday?
Honestly, I thought it was ridiculous, especially he was claiming that he was the victim in this situation. And like you said, he was saving lives. I mean, Ashley Babbitt, she was 5'2". She was unarmed, clearly. There were cops standing all around her. In no situation, if the roles were reversed, would this ever be okay? And I'm not sure why people are just accepting that for what he's saying, because it's not okay, and it's sickening and disturbing for sure.
Yeah, and an internal investigation in this case is perfectly fine. It's not a whitewash. In every other case, it's the blue wall trying to protect the blue wall, and then they come out with, and I got to ask you about this too, they're going to sue Donald Trump and his allies. I'm not even sure what that means. the FBI already found no connection to Donald Trump and the protests. So where are they going with this? Is this like sell books or something?
I agree with you completely. I think, the media just can't get enough of Donald Trump, and they just want to keep him in the media as much as possible. And like you said, the FBI found that there is no collusion, but that's just not enough. And people are ruthless. They will not stop until they try to take him down. As much as they might try, I don't think that they're ever going to succeed. And I think it's just they're trying to keep the cycle going.
Yeah, do you have a question or something? Is that what you're trying to do? Yes. So people wanted me to ask you about Souls to the Polls, which, just so viewers may not know, let me just give them a little recap. Democrats conduct in urban areas Souls to the Polls before elections, usually in the weeks leading up to elections, in-person early voting, where they're not afraid of violating the Johnson Amendment, and they actually get funded in some cases to make sure that this happens. It's legal in most of these areas. And in rural America, even areas in suburban America, they don't do it. They are afraid of the Johnson Amendment. They don't have local backing, so there's a disparity in turnout machination, right? So they just don't have the machine. The right doesn't have the machine that the Democratic inner city machine has. So tell us what's going on there. People are excited about that. I think people on the right are finally like, you know what? It's about time.
Yeah, so we've discovered a problem specifically in Georgia, and it's where people, specifically Christians, are disenfranchised based on where they live. And I want to give you some context before I go into what we're calling patriotic souls to the polls. But in Georgia, there's 159 counties in the state, and they're all given the option to hold Sunday voting. As of now, only 9 of these counties have committed to holding Sunday voting in 2022 elections, which means that there's 150 counties where the citizens are not given the same opportunities to cast their ballot, and they have a whole less days to cast their ballot as well. So we have formulated this plan called Patriotic Souls to the Polls. It's going off of Souls to the Polls, in which, people get together, they attend the church service in these urban counties like Fulton County, DeKalb County. They attend church, and then their pastor leads them after the service to, the polls where they cast their ballots, and then they all come back and they have a nice potluck. But the people in the 150 counties where Sunday voting is not allowed, they're not allowed to engage in this type of activity with their church community. And so we have developed Patriotic Souls to the Polls, which has the objective of having every county in the state of Georgia have Sunday voting on the 2 Sundays leading up to an election. So that's going to consist of people and pastors asking their county governments if they will allow for Sunday voting on the 2 Sundays leading up to an election. We don't think that this is a big lift. It's 2 Sundays, that's 2 extra days. Saturdays are already allowed, and it's for limited hours. And we definitely think that, Georgia, the margin of victory was not very large. And if this had been something that had happened in the last election, the results might be different, especially in these rural counties.
Yeah, I do. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So I think so many people were focused on. I got to think of the right word for YouTube here. Irregularities. All right, that they do. They throw the baby out with the bathwater. And if you're somebody like me, you look into the voter file, you look at the population, who votes at what rate. I'll tell you, in a state like Georgia, Caroline, it wouldn't have mattered if there are too many people who don't vote that share the right's view in states like this. And if they did, then it would not matter. I'm trying to make the case that, don't focus on those irregularities. Definitely don't let them get you down. What I'm saying, if people participated at the same rates, then there's almost nothing they'd be able to do, is my point. There's just too many. It's a numbers game, right? So a lot of people, that's piqued interest of a lot of people. Find anybody concerned? Obviously you guys are also trying to talk to people who are religious leaders, whatever. You think you're going to get anybody who's concerned that there will be an arbitrary application of the law? We've spoken to pastors who would say, I'd love to do that, but I am afraid the IRS is going to come after me. They're afraid. You think, how much of a concern do you think that is? Trump did waive a lot of that during his era, but now we're not in the Trump era anymore.
Right. I think the main complaint that we've heard is that people don't think that politics belong in the church, and church and state should remain completely separate. And, I would agree with them for the most part. I think that for a long time that worked and people just went their separate ways between church and state, but that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
The state government is intruding on church. You're not allowed to have religious gatherings because of COVID restrictions. You're not allowed to say where your tax dollars are going, even if they're going to fund abortions, which is just sickening and disturbing. But I think people have just been sitting back and sitting on their hands and saying, oh, it'll get better eventually. But if you do that too long, you have nothing left. And so we're really calling on pastors especially and their constituents and their congregations in these counties to say that Sunday voting is important. Fulton County engages in it, DeKalb County engages in it, and it's not fair that the rest of the country, and more specifically Georgia and the 150 counties that don't allow for Sunday voting, can't engage in this opportunity as well.
Yeah, we call that conservative complacency. Yeah,
Exactly.
I understand the idealism that you would love for it to be about God. You get, to your church on Sunday, you have some praise and worship or whatever your denomination is. You get into the Word, but that's not the world we live in. And you're creating a disadvantage. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage. I mean, that's what I would tell these people and do tell these people. So yeah, I guess, lastly, basically, is there any, well, I mean, you could use help everywhere, right? So, I mean, what do you need people to do, basically, to help you move forward? We have found the right is very, not like the left. The right has to be, urged and prodded. The left has no shortage of people who want to go into their pockets and fund efforts to, give local officials money before an election to make sure they change their election laws and their election procedures. But the right is not like that. So go ahead and give people, an idea of what you guys, where you need help, when you need people to do.
Yeah, so I would say mostly we need volunteers, not just in Georgia, but around the country as well. We're involved in a ton of different things. So you can do that at lookaheadamerica.org/volunteer. If you're interested in patriotic souls to the polls and you are in Georgia, you can go to lookaheadamerica.org/PSP. And we have some information there, as well as all the counties that do and do not allow for Sunday voting. And if you can't volunteer, but you still want to do something, we would love to have you donate to our cause. You can do that at lookaheadamerica.org/donate. There's nothing that we need more than time, treasure, and talent. So whatever you can give, we would love to be able to accept that for sure.
Would there, Caroline, any plans in the future to move that, beyond Georgia? I mean, or is that something you guys have spoken about? We're Florida people. Now we've, built in North Carolina, but both of those states have similar problems. And that's what, when we were talking to churches in Florida, that's the kind of thing we were getting to, Meanwhile, they absolutely conduct souls to the polls, all in Southern Florida. And it's a huge disadvantage. You're just not playing on equal footing. And any plans to move,
right.
Beyond Georgia at some point?
Yeah, that's something that we've definitely tossed around. We are focusing on Georgia right now, and we're anticipating massive success. So I can definitely see us moving into Florida as well after that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, it's just it's like a Southern thing, I think. I guess it's beyond, it could be in any region, but that's just where we are. So that's where we see it, right? That's where I've seen it
Definitely.
The most. All right. Well, Caroline, it was a fantastic conversation. Love to have you back on. Probably see you next month. And
yes, for sure.
Give us an update.
Give us an update. Keep us posted, and we'll have you back. Talk about it.
Will do. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. All the best. That's Caroline Craze, ladies and gentlemen, from lookaheadamerica.org. I'll tell you what, that Souls to the Polls, it's huge.
Yes, it is.
It's huge in Florida. It's huge in Georgia. We have seen it for years, this disparity.
Mm-hmm. And it's like amazing that, Look Ahead of America and what Carolyn and Matt are
finally
doing.
Thought about doing it.
It's like, hey, you know what?
Let's
beat them at their own game.
All the money that's gone to Republican causes, and they didn't think to do this at all. It's just I know it frustrates viewers, and it
Mm-hmm.
does, because, I don't know how many text messages you guys have gotten In the last week, we've gotten tons of them,
Oh,
including
so annoying.
one that tell us to sign up to Trump's new social media thing, but it redirects you to win red.
Yeah.
So it's not even a legit. Right.
Yeah.
So look, I tell people this all the time. It's don't
you wanna make a
donate to the
difference,
Republican National
yeah.
Committee. Donate to causes and candidates, and a Souls to the Polls would be effective.
Yes.
Very effective.
Look Ahead of America is making a difference.
Yeah, they're out there, on the ground. They're doing the work that Rona and company
Yes.
should have done.
A long time ago.
Permanent data operation.
I know.
Just leave it at that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go over some polling about the mandate, okay? And then we'll bring on my good buddy, Don Smith. I'm going to take an early break so we can have a little bit more time for questions and answers. Caroline, they got a good person for that gig.
Yes.
She's
is
sharp.
Awesome.
All right, folks, we'll be right back.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Get on a plane and take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for a night. Just to give in to the need and leave it all behind. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're back inside the numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. We're going to talk about some polling soon. You have a question that you want to throw at me real quick?
Yeah, but
Or was
first,
that a question
no,
on air?
everybody wants to see my nails.
Get out of here.
They've been asking.
You girls been asking? Back to that completely distracted me.
Yes, it did.
Let's talk about the
All right,
mandate.
so no,
Let's talk
questions.
about the mandate. I don't think I put the
Did you put the
mandate
mandate
stuff.
up?
No, I meant to. We got the public vaccinations thing. I was putting them on Twitter, and then I that's all right. You guys know if you've seen them. Locals, you've definitely seen them. I set up another crosstab link just on this issue. We'll just say this issue, okay? Including status. Have you been? Have you not been? Do you intend to be? Trust. How much trust? Whether passports. We'll just say passports.
Mm-hmm.
Generally. The term itself. Let's test it. We did that. And then down the line, what that would mean, however. So, events. Different events. Schools. Right? Should there be a mandate before schools? Kids go to schools. Mandates are employers. I mean, look, we just had the President of the United States, before he completely lost control of the Middle East and Eurasia, all right? Before he completely lost control of that, he was pressuring employers to implement, and it's happening, mandates for their employees. Interestingly enough, somebody pointed out to me, isn't it funny that all of these unions, with their power of collective bargaining, were able to get exemptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, you might notice that public sector unions, which was hot, look, locals is just pound. Locals is just awesome when it comes to these ideas. And one of them was, you ask a question about unions and your demographics. Why don't we separate that between public and private? And you can see, guys, that private sector unions actually are opposed +1.
Mm-hmm.
Public sector unions are support +1,000,000, or not 1,000,000, but they're significantly more likely to say they do support it. Unions overall do, because public sectors make up so much more now than private sectors. So overall, unions in general, that demographic, is pro-mandate for employers, even though they get exemptions. So how nice, more rules for thee, not for me. The rest of the damn population is adamantly opposed to it by 20 points currently. AP polling is garbage. They've been garbage for years. They were garbage on Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
They were garbage on Obama's approval rating.
Preach it.
They were garbage on both his midterms. They were garbage on the 2016 elections. They were garbage on the 18 elections. And they were garbage last November in the 2020 elections. So who the hell gives a damn what their polling shows? This is the stuff that really pisses me off, because honestly, guys, I'm getting more angry too with, look, Jim from Susquehanna has been fantastic. It's time for those of us who have not misled the American people year after year after year in this industry. It is time for those of us to stand up and call out the others, who are the vast majority who have misled Americans. Polls showing 6 in 10 almost want the former president impeached. Yet somehow he earned 75 million votes, the more votes of any sitting incumbent president in the history of popular elections in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Down the line, Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation, gun laws. And now here we are with mandates. The working class actually supports mandates. No, they don't. And it's not even close. The only thing that was close was the simple question of passports. Why? It's a buzzword. It's a media buzzword. Whole lot of social desirability bias packed on top of it, squished in there. But when you actually pick it apart and say, okay, do you support mandating employees? Can employers fire? Do you support teachers, kids, whatever? Children before they go back to school? They do not. How about restaurants? Bill de Blasio. Do you support forcing them into a mandate before they're allowed to eat at a public restaurant? No. They do not. And Republicans, look and listen right now. This is your opportunity to earn votes beyond someone who's 65 years of age and older. You know who's most opposed to this? The working class, who are 30 to 64 years old. You want to win votes in the 30 to 45 category? Here's your damn chance. You want to know why Donald Trump carried almost every age group in Florida, Ohio, and Iowa? Here's your damn chance. This is your chance to draw a nice big fat line between the parties and show it to younger people, the future of the country, future generations. They are the ones being hurt by this. Stand up for them. Maybe they'll vote for you. Cowards. You crooked, scared little girls. Actually, I'm sorry, ladies. I don't even want to insult you like that.
We have more.
Cleopatra had courage. Gender doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're cowardly, corrupt little trolls. It's time to stand up for somebody other than K Street in the military-industrial complex. Or get lost.
Mm-hmm.
Or go home. Sorry. People like Joe can't kick some of you home anyway.
That's right.
You see Joe on Tucker and Steve Cortez last night?
Beautiful.
You want to win those votes? Take a good look at Joe Kent.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a tough primary. Had him tough. The Washington 3 is a tough election in general. But you want to look to some of those other districts? How many districts do you need to retake the House? Go ahead and look at that number. You want to know if it's a Republican plus 3 to 6 generic ballot. Do you want to know the districts that are going to fall when you get them? It's going to be his neighbor. It's going to be Jim Costa's. It's going to be Texas 15. It's going to be Wisconsin 3. It's going to be Virginia 7. It's going to be Michigan 8. Just out of your grasp. Try sticking up for somebody. Maybe they'll vote for you. By the way, almost all of those districts I just mentioned, Donald Trump did infinitely better than the Republican House candidate. California 16 was single digits. While the Republican chode got trounced. Actually lost votes since the primary. The first round of voting. Twice. 2 years in a row.
What
Anyway,
fish and chips, man?
fish and chips. No, mandates are not popular. Masking is probably, you're going to see a rise in the support for mask mandates because we have the Delta fear porn going around. When we were polling for the Epoch Times and before the election in 2020, this is another popular question I get, I'm just going to roll through it. We got, I believe it was 63 or 64%, almost 2/3. That was our high of nationally people who supported mask mandates. That was on the back of seniors being concerned, of course, for their health. And then it receded. In fact, it collapsed. But remember, when we were at 63-ish, Fox News was at like 76-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be this just ridiculous disparity. It's this disconnect between reality and what they want. It's got to be beyond competence at this point, Laura. It has to be beyond competence. It's an issue of integrity and ethics. Why do I say that? Because, folks, at this point, you've got to think, if you're a pollster and you've done so bad, you got to think, you know what, I should just stop for a minute and I should just retool. I'll poll some elections and I will see whether or not I've fixed my problems. What I don't think is responsible is weighing into issues of people's personal liberty when you can't poll an election. That's what you want. That's what you want. That's not what's best. And other people who, like me, who have done their job well, need to start speaking up more before George Gallup's vision is crushed, is snuffed out under the weight of corporate greed, corporate ideology, and corporate corruption. It's disgraceful. Disgraceful. All right. Anyway, let's we're gonna bring on Don real soon here. All right.
All right. Can I throw some?
Yeah,
questions
let's throw
at
some
you?
questions at me before we bring in Don. Which we'll do, what? Let's say, what's good? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
10. All right, let's go. Hit me!
All right. So 2 things from
Chumps.
Lamp Crow. Lamp Crow thinks that Jim, Rich, and Robert from Trafalgar really need to form some sort of official association to clean up the industry, like A4 but cooler. And then
You know what? That's a good idea.
I thought so. And Lamp Crow wants to know, why are the McConnell Mafia on Twitter trying so hard to derail Herschel Walker in Georgia?
Yep.
They seem convinced he can't win, and I'm sure they'd say the same about Heiss for Secretary of State.
That is because Herschel Walker is not on Team McConnell. He is on Team America First. And Mitch McConnell is a fraud, has never been on Team America, has never been on Team America First, hated Donald Trump's guts, which I think America First isn't even Donald Trump. It's not.
No, it's
It is.
America
Donald
First.
Trump was just the leader of it, and I argue is still the leader of it. But Herschel Walker would not. Look, Mitch McConnell would go into Afghanistan again right now. He would absolutely support 25,000, 30,000 troops being sent back in to take Bagram back. All right? And to sit there permanently. That's what Mitch McConnell does. That's who he is. He's a fraud. He's someone who lies to the people of Kentucky every 6 years. This is Mitch McConnell pulling up. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Here's our good friend Mitch. Let's give a round of applause for Mitch McConnell, ladies and gentlemen. The cheesy old troll is the most unpopular man or woman in the United States Congress.
Bravo.
Bravo, Mitch. He doesn't want Herschel Walker because Herschel Walker is not going to go to Washington, D.C. and play ball with Mitch McConnell. He's going to put the voters of Georgia and America first. He's not going to vote for endless wars. He's not going to vote for Mitch McConnell's wife's friends to get their pockets stuffed with money every budget. He has values. This has nothing to do with who Mitch McConnell thinks can or cannot win the state of Georgia. Mitch McConnell also thought that David Perdue was a lock. Mitch McConnell also thought that Kelly Loeffler was a good idea. Mitch McConnell is ancient. He needs to go home. And Kentucky, if you had any self-respect, any respect for your voters, any respect for your values, you would get together in a legislative session right now and repeal and replace that law that doesn't allow Mitch McConnell to be recalled. Because Mitch McConnell only won re-election because Donald Trump wanted to be nice with him. If Donald Trump would have picked another horse, he'd be gone right now. Another mistake, which, Donald Trump is his fair. We can dig on Joe Biden all day long for being the saliva dribbling, incompetent dementia patient that he is. But when, anybody messes up, and Donald Trump messed up a lot when it came to who he chose to try to make friends with, who he chose to try to do business with, who he chose to be loyal to.
He underestimated the evilness of these
He
people.
really did.
Yeah.
He didn't understand that the game of politics is not the game of business. They have different interests.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those interests, not sometimes, often, those interests aren't even their own. So even if they wanted to not stab you in the back, their benefactor tells you, pick up the knife, they do it. They don't even own their own conscience anymore. Don't you understand, folks? These people have been in bed so long, they don't even know their spouses anymore.
All right. Holkauer would like to know, to what extent has national traumas like Afghanistan trickled down to state elections for state offices? Will Joe's mistakes amount to a heavy punishing of Democrats for local offices?
I think that in the end, the local issues, look, it definitely shakes confidence in the party as a whole. That's what happened with Barack Obama in many cases. It does shake confidence in the party. Democrats are absolutely putting themselves at great risk by basically, shilling for him and then attempting to use this opportunity, this disaster, as a distraction to push agenda items that nobody would support. But I think they're raw power politic people, folks. And at this point, they have calculated that they're going to, it is much more likely than not that they're going to get beaten like a drum in November, and that they're going to just push through everything they can possible. Green New Deal, try to seize control, federal control of elections, federal control of police forces, expand the Capitol Police. I think they're just going to go buck wild at this stuff. And it is a disgrace that there is any Republican in either chamber of commerce. Freudian slip. Any chamber of Congress that would go along with them. And that was a legit Freudian slip. What does that tell you? I replaced Congress with Chamber of Commerce. Tells you everything you need to know about the current Republican Party. Look, let me just add this. The lesson from Donald Trump was that you are not in control of your government. It would have been a lot easier for Donald Trump to implement changes to seize control back from these people had he had people there at his back to defend him instead of sticking knives in it. So you also should take this lesson to heart and take it good. You can't take on the administrative state. You can't take on the deep state, whatever you want to call it, the military-industrial complex. You can't take on the Democrats who are now aligned with it until you house clean your own damn party.
True story.
And by the way, like, you know, time is late here. You can't do it in 2026. It will be over by 2026.
Well, that'd be a nail in the coffin. That's not even
Forget about it. And there's no point to re-elect somebody like Donald Trump again, whether you like Trump or dislike him. You cannot argue that he put what he believed was in the best interest of the people first. And he did it because he had a certain level of independence no other president has ever had. Not in our lifetime. Whether you agreed with those policies or not, that's not the point. The point is, he still did something Barack Obama couldn't do. He kept his word. He still did something Joe Biden sure as hell isn't doing. He sure did something George W. Bush didn't do.
Amen.
Bill Clinton didn't do. His Poppy Bush didn't do. Even Ronald Reagan couldn't do it to the extent that Donald Trump did. For those who love old Ron. And there is no point to elect another one like him unless he has allies. Or she, for that matter. You know? Could be a woman for all we know. But he or she will need allies.
Because otherwise
Right
you're
now,
sending the sheep to the
you're just sending them to the slaughter. You know what that man had to deal with for 4 years, day in and day out? That light came on at 4:30 every morning in the residence. And once that light came on, he was under attack till the light went off.
No, not even. They were still
Right,
attacking
they were still
him while
attacking him when he was
sleeping.
sleeping. That's so true. But I'm saying he had to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, but you're right. It never ended.
He lost so much money becoming a president of the United States. You think he
He's
did
the
it
only
for...
president who lost wealth.
Yes.
Look at Barack Obama, was a freaking nobody. His wife had a token job at a hospital while he was nothing. He was nothing. He was a part-time legislator before he used signature verification to kick the real candidate off the ballot in the Senate. That's how we got on the Democratic ballot. Signature verification. He didn't even carry out a full term, which tells you all you need to know about a man. You don't even finish a commitment. He didn't even carry out a full term before he decided, I think I'll run for president. And yet he's filthy rich, a ginormous estate in Martha's Vineyard. I think back all the time to when they first interviewed Barack Obama when he was running for president. He was making his kids a chicken salad or a tuna salad sandwich. They ate it all the time. He was Mr. Everyday. Mr. You know, now look at him. He's got a chair in Netflix. Who gives a damn? The hell does he know about Netflix?
So he's got it.
Book deals he really doesn't deserve. Nobody's buying this stuff. And all sorts of ungodly things that now he's filthy, filthy rich, him and Michelle. Michelle didn't even show up for work at that job.
She didn't even go on vacation with him, let alone show up to work with him.
What kind of married couple doesn't go on vacation together?
That's crazy.
I don't even want to go on vacation without you.
Aw, I love you.
It's not a vacation. I'd just be sitting there missing you the whole damn time.
Yes, and then be starved of
We've
sleep.
been together for so long. It's not even normal.
We've been together longer
No,
than
no,
we've
no. I mean,
been
it's not even
separated.
normal to be. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be normal. I go on business trips. I'm gone for 2-3 days, and I'm miserable. I'm like, man, I just want to go home and see my kids, see my wife.
Truth.
I don't know how the hell you go to Hawaii for 9 days and not bring. I'm not going to get into it. Whatever.
But anywho, they're
Maybe you're going to see a certain then Attorney General out in California.
Oh!
That's why Michelle hates. All right. Okay.
Heels up, baby. Heels
All right.
up.
We got a question before I bring on down?
Sure. I got plenty. I got a question
I've never
for
heard of such a thing.
when Don does come on for
Maybe
the
I'm
both
too
of you
old school, but
Well, that's how we roll, baby. Where is it? Okay, Joel was wondering to ask Rich if that approach would yield better fundraising results targeting conservatives, starting with the big ask of volunteering time/talent and settling for treasure. Like give us your time versus your money.
I think the right needs both, so it couldn't hurt. I mean, it may.
I think it'd be good.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, it sounds like a good idea. I mean, the bottom line is that I think you're certainly more likely to financially support an effort that you believe in wholeheartedly. So if you've been working for it and volunteering for it and you believe in it, you're probably much more likely to open up your pocket. I mean, that makes sense to me, Yeah, maybe. But I will tell you, that gap between the right and the left has to be closed if the right has any hope to. You're already not on a level playing field when it comes to the war of information. You have, it's probably 95-5 against you.
Mm-hmm.
It was starting to level out. That's how Trump was able to win the election, folks. I hate to tell you, Americans did not rely only on these normal, corrupt corporate media outlets to get their information. And that is the lesson that big media learned after 2016. That's why they came after the rest of us so hard. Google was a partner with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were great, guys. We fact-checked. We had their Google snippet, fact-check snippet. We were one of the first stories they would constantly go to put up on Google News during, like if a jobs report came out.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that we covered those indicators day in and day out. They loved us. We would publish it, and within minutes, huge, enormous amount of traffic from Google News. Enormous.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just turned on us. Why? Because I committed the cardinal sin. We all know the scumbag is their chosen election forecaster.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't provide a service to the American news consumer or the American Politico. He provides a service to them, which is to provide a narrative to get their guy or girl elected. He's not a real election forecaster. He's a chump who steals people's ideas like he's out today with a fake headline stealing mine. Just last week he was saying this would lead to a narrow disapproval. Coronavirus will keep him up. Now he's completely robbed my analysis we've been talking about for months.
Yes. That was most.
He doesn't have an original thought in his little tiny head. His little tiny bald head.
Maybe,
but what he does have is the backing of corporate media, which is why he's allowed to run at a negative budget every year. And my cardinal sin was not only coming out and offering the American people an alternative, but doing so in a way that basically condemned everybody else. From RCP to the pollsters that they aggregate. Because I said you're doing it wrong. You are doing it wrong. Let me show you. And I had already been out in 2014 and we grossly overperformed everybody. I mean, it wasn't even close. And that was my sin. Was just being there. Gave the Trump voter hope that there wasn't, like, what they were trying to do is depress them. And here's some guy, folks, the traffic was enormous. Millions upon millions upon millions upon millions came back not only for the tracking poll, but the forecast throughout the election cycle. And not only that, but voices would then take that and say, this guy shows Trump can win. I wasn't trying to show you Trump can win. I was trying to show you the truth. And that was a problem.
God forbid you tell
and that was a problem. I was supposed to do what the rest of them did. We got calls, believe me, making it very clear.
Fall in line.
From, by the way, calls from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
The vice president of Nielsen, one of the VPs at Nielsen, a former, I'll say, called and was like, man, we're all rooting for you. Hang tough. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Hang tough. Somebody from Google consumer surveys like this. Yo. Corporate pulled the plug on us. So you're the only one left.
It's so true.
Go get him. Go get him. For us, tell them our story.
It's so true.
It's true.
It was so funny.
They pulled the plug on them in October. And they were like, what was their sin? Trump was he was going to win these Midwestern states. Florida was not even close. It was like Trump plus 6 or something, which was still more than it was. But in Ohio, Iowa, like these surveys were not close. And they yanked them. They yanked them from you. Anyway, so that was my real sin. My real sin was not only offering an alternative, but offering an alternative and significant criticism against these people. That was my sin. And they turned on us like feral, rabid animals. And they never took us off Google News. They just blacklisted us. We're wondering where all our traffic is. What's going on? And then James O'Keefe, got a whistleblower for you.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are. Bringing on my good friend Don Smith from the Don Smith Show.
Don!
What's up, Don?
Hey. How you doing?
Living the dream, my friend. Living the dream. How about you?
Same.
Somebody's got a question for us. Let's do that. But then, I figured you're a vet. I'm a vet. I want to vent about Afghanistan for a little bit.
So many people want to hear about that.
And so many people want to hear that, Van, I guess.
Yep.
So let's get, there was a question, a couple that were for us, together. So let's do 2, or let's do 1, save another one. And let's just shoot.
All right. So Jay Patel wants to know, my question for Don and Rich, what does Biden's approval rating do with this agenda he is trying to pass?
Don, let me just shoot and say, right, Don, normally it would stop it dead in their tracks. But I'm saying, this is my theory. They're done. They know they're done. And they're just, now because they are so radical and ideological now, they're not trying to triangulate. They're not trying to pivot. It is not Bill Clinton's Democratic Party anymore. They're trying to cramp and get as much, they're trying to do irreversible, irreparable harm. That's my take. What's your take?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, normally, like you said, this would normally stop it or slow it down, or they would pivot to other things. No, yes. These guys know. You remember the midterms under President Trump? Everybody, it was the big blue wave. It was going to be huge. It wasn't. It was a trick. It was a trickle at best.
It was like
this is gonna be huge, and they know it. And that's even before the Afghanistan stuff. So I'm 100% with you. They are full speed ahead, and they're going to try to get as much done as possible. And yes, they will try to cause irreparable harm to the country. They already are.
There are rumors of Democrats in very what are thought to have been safe seats in California winning by 20 points. There are rumors that the incumbent's going to retire. I mean, that's where, he's one of those guys who've been very good to kind of hang under the radar. But, he thinks the handwriting's on the wall. Trump actually did not do bad in his district, which is amazing. You and I have talked about, you know which one I'm talking about. We talked about this. When I checked, I was actually a little bit surprised. I'm like, wow, that's only 7 points. In a midterm election, forget it. 7 points is nothing. Goodbye. It's going to get swept away. That's why they call it a wave.
Yeah.
Too much. So I think the politics that we used to know, Don, are over. Where they're not just thinking about 2022. They would say, you know what? We need to moderate. We're being rejected. We need to moderate. We need to think about 2024. We need to think about 2026. We need to think about our brand with the American people. No, they don't give a damn. They're thinking right now, let's do damage for our cause that's irreversible, and let's replace these SOBs anyway.
Yep. And
We're
they
going
don't
to
care.
replace him anyway, Don. We're going to flood the border anyway.
And
Full
really
speed
don't.
ahead.
They really don't care. Look at all your polling. I mean, you go over this stuff all the time. All these things they're doing are massively unpopular. So they don't even care about their own constituents at this point. The only caveat I would add, any Republican who's going to go along with any of this stuff or is going to support these massive bills, you're the only Republicans that are in trouble. You're the only ones.
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, I know you came on after we had interviewed Joe Kent. Did you see his interviews yesterday with Tucker and Cortez? Perfect example of what I'm talking about. Butler, you're in trouble, Butler. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in deep trouble. I think he's going to spank you. I think he is. I think he's going to crush her. I really do.
That guy totally gets it.
He totally gets it.
Yep.
That's because he's a green beanie, Don. He's a green beanie. I gotta ask him next time we have him on, and he's coming back on next time, whether he went through the X-ray program. I didn't get to ask him that, but it's because he really does get it, and it's a perfect example of. And let's just go into Afghanistan with this. This is the culmination of 20 years worth of lies, 20 years worth of incompetence. The biggest lie of all, that we were ever training an army who would stand up to the Taliban, that these people wanted the West there and they wanted to be like, America. This was all total lies. Joe did bring it up in his interview with Tucker and I think with Steve as well. But folks, just, this is why they didn't want it to leak, because they knew they had Trump who wanted to end the war. And they can't have these papers come out before this guy takes office and sees power. That basically shows that the Pentagon knows this is not working and that the minute we leave, it's all going to come tumbling down. Yet they spent all your money. They killed your family members. They maimed your family members. In the case of Syria with Joe's wife, totally disgusting. This man gave a lawful order as the commander-in-chief, and that man's wife wouldn't be dead right now, if they would have not have been traitors. What other word is there? I'm sorry. Is there another word for people who don't listen when the president gives an order? That's not hyperbolic. They're traitors. Right?
Yep.
You belay the order of a president, Don.
This is this just keeps getting worse. And I mean, you think, how could this possibly get worse? And it just keeps getting worse. That thing he did last night was just absolutely pathetic.
Oh, you got to talk about that.
Let me talk about this one thing that really just infuriated. This made me so angry. We all know, you don't have to be a military expert to know that Bagram Air Base was the fortress. We've talked about this. You've talked about it. We're all talking about it. It was the fortress it was our stronghold. It was also the signal to the Taliban that, hey, we're turning tail and we're running, man. We're out of here. So come on in. It's all yours. But he said last night, he actually said that the reason they closed that airbase was because it was a non-value added asset.
Don, I almost had a heart attack. I almost had a heart attack when I heard that. So it went from anybody who knows. So it went from, if we take Bagram, man, we take Afghanistan. It went from that to there's no value in Bagram Air Base. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
And by the way, it does look like Jack Posobiec and others have pulled up tape of General Milley saying that Bagram is not important. So it really, I'm telling you right now, there is nobody who is a real soldier. Wow. A real soldier. I'm not talking about these woke, fake generals like Milley and Austin. I'm not talking about them. I am talking about the real, you know what I mean? The real soldiers who really go and are in charge of winning or losing wars. There is no chance. There is no chance. My former CSM. No. There is no chance. My former Bird would have. There's just no way he heard it from a person whose job is to actually keep Afghanistan. Yep. Maybe he heard it from woke Mark Milley, who cares more about white rage than he does the rise of China or winning a conflict with a third world country. Mm-hmm. There's no way, Don. I call BS, man. I call BS.
There's only two possibilities that exist, just from the one example that I'm talking about, Bagram Air Base, non-value added asset. Number one, that is the biggest lie ever told to the American
Ever
people.
told.
Is option number one. The only other option is he really believes that.
That's
Either
what I'm
one,
really scared, Don. If they
either
really
one of
do.
those things should scare the hell out of anybody listening or watching right now.
Don, if Mark Milley or General Austin, any of them, really believed, and I'm starting to think that that's maybe possible, that they really are that dumb. I was looking at old clips, and it was, I forgot the congressman, Republican congressman, asking him about the situation in Afghanistan. Trump has got the plan in motion already. Before they announced that he was going not to leave May, at the May date. He had no idea what the congressman was talking about. You had to see his face. I mean, it was like a string of words put together in an attempt to form a coherent sentence that had some relevance to the question whatsoever, and it just failed. And the congressman is like, yeah, that's not really what I'm asking you here. Like a specific. It was just like, well, we've been working with our partners all over the country. Yeah, all over the country, and these are great people. And we're going to make sure that we can do this in a safe way. And he's like, what the hell? This is like a campaign stump speech or something? Like, I'm asking you specifically about certain units in certain areas. Like, he had no idea, Don. It was very obvious that he either wasn't privy or he was told and it went out of his head. I don't know. But I'm looking at Eli Lake's, Twitter feed and his take on it. And I think Eli is wrong in the point that this was inevitable anyway. The fall of the Taliban, the fall of the Western inserted Afghan government, I do believe was inevitable. I've told you this many times that the Afghan security forces were not a real army. Many of them would desert, folks. All right, as soon as they were done with training, they disappear, along with their their T-10 and their gear. They would take off, with everything. And it was alarming rates, big chunks. So it was like never really something that you could have confidence in. But generally, Don, I think the fall of the government was inevitable, but the debacle and the loss of life was not. And simply holding on to Bagram, a forward operating position, where you could also have departure points, by the way. Yeah. You could also be carrying out evacuations. Kabul is not fortified. All right? It's a third world urban center with a third world airport. Yep. Bagram was at least fortified. And if we would have been there, then it would have been our troops securing perimeters, not the Taliban, who look, that's another thing. Clearly the Taliban let those men through. There's just, folks, this ISIS-K line of crap. K stands for Khorasan Group. They've been around for a very long time. All right, the Haqqani network, too, now we're hearing about again. Back then, in the heyday, Don, the Haqqanis used to, I was telling Laura about some of this, they used to kidnap people. Their job was to fund the Taliban, okay? Right. And they would kidnap people, a Westerner at a stop, whatever it may be, a fake interview maybe or something set up, and that their job was to get money. And yeah, they pulled off terror attacks too, but their job was mainly to get money. Khorasan was like a breach between, or a link between Taliban and other groups, right? Because they are all vying for their own slice of the pie. And it is true that ISIS doesn't really, I think it's fair to say they wouldn't recognize Taliban's legitimacy because they want a caliphate with a caliph. They don't want just like, a state that, Afghanistan, that's for the Taliban. That's a little bit different goal. But this, I'm just like, how could we now rely on the Taliban for what that told us when they said that yesterday at the Pentagon briefing? What they're telling us, folks, is they really did leave behind American citizens. They did. Don, there's no other way to cut this man.
At the end of the day, that was the overall theme of his speech last night, was preparing the American people and the rest of the world. Everybody's watching this. It was to prepare you to understand that Just
This
nothing
isn't
we
gonna
could
go.
do.
Yeah.
We're going to leave people behind, and this happens in every war. There's
Yeah.
never been a war where we've gotten all the people out.
Yeah.
This is so bad. Let me just say this. I don't want to oversimplify the complexities of this massive debacle, which is even too nice of a word anymore. I don't even know what else
I don't
to
know what
use.
to call it, man. Right.
This guy has a history, and I'm talking Joe Biden. So here's what I believe happened, but here's what I know. This guy has a history of bragging about how he was the only one in the room who stood up against this guy. He's such an idiot. He even admitted that he was the only guy that stood up and said, "Don't go after Osama bin Laden."
Yeah.
I think he was expecting a Jimmy Carter kind of failed attempt to rescue the hostages kind of thing, and then he could stand up and say, "See, I told him not to do that." So that one didn't go his way. I think what's going on here is he wanted to be, because he's already said it, that he was the guy. It was my decision. He wanted to be the one to come out and say, see, I did it the right way. All these generals, they wanted to do this and that and stay at war. And that's just who this guy is.
Because he had no other win, Don, right? Like he had no other victory. He had no coronavirus crashing, the economy. He was above water once in our polling on the economy, but then, decided he was crashing. And then now definitely underwater on everything. Is that not the only reason why he bucked the security state, which is, they backed him. Is it not true, honestly, that is the only reason why he did it, because he had no other political capital and he needed to win?
Absolutely. And this is a scary part, Rich. This is a guy who it's so ingrained in him. And your point is excellent. He has no wins. So what's next? Where are we going to war next?
Yeah.
Where he can get in there and he can do something and he can be John Wayne and ride off on the horse and go, ha ha, I showed those guys. He's got to get a win.
Help us, Don.
He's got to get a win. So what's going to happen here? People need to really pay attention to. He's already talking about Syria. All of a sudden, he's all concerned about the Uyghurs. We know we're not going to go to war with China, but Syria, maybe. Where's he going to go to war? Because just like you said, he has no win. He has no political capital. You have to build that now. So how does he build that? How does he use our military for his own gains, political gains? That's, I think, the really scary thing here is this guy's not done. He's not just going to go, oh, well, I really screwed that up.
Yeah.
But let me make one more point. What he's doing, what Kirby's doing, what Milley's doing, what Psaki's doing, what all these people going on TV every day are doing, you know what they're doing? They're doing a campaign ad. You know whose campaign they're promoting? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because they're telling you, he had everything under control. Nobody was dying under him. And I mean, they're literally saying that he doesn't even have the cognitive ability to realize you're promoting Donald Trump. And thank you for that. I mean, I'm cool with that. I'm sure President Trump is as well. But this is a campaign ad they're doing for Donald Trump. Him saying he's not Donald Trump, he's just proved it.
Yeah.
He's just proved it. He is a bumbling, stumbling, incoherent man who has no idea what's going on. And we just had 4 years of America being strong and maybe not liked, but respected.
Yeah,
that's gone.
Yeah. Let me just say, who the hell cares if we were liked, Don? Let me bring myself back here. I'm talking, I'm not looking. But yeah, who the hell gives a damn?
I don't.
I don't. By the way, in recent polling, who now our favorability is ticked down among everybody except for one state. France. Mm-hmm. So who gives a damn? What anybody has to think. Yep. We should only care about what the American people have to think. I don't care if they like us or not. This is not how international relations works. On Wednesday, great conversation with the guys at the Gaggle. Mm-hmm. This is not how. This is the product of decades of a foreign policy establishment and these cowards who get elected, unable to face them, right? Not having a worldview that is grounded in reality. And then they try, and it's people who wind up paying the price for this. Yep. That literally misused, treated like expendable garbage. 13 Marines and Navy medic and Afghan citizens, and then they just can't, what do they do? Does that bother them at all?
Yep.
They just, figure out the media disgraceful, so that was a powerful speech, whatever she said. That is the Associated Press.
Mhm.
That's who said that.
Even our allies,
They're out, Don. They're out.
who are-
Like Trout.
but
They're gone.
even the ones that have always been our closest allies, maybe with the exception of Israel under Benjamin Netanyahu, even our closest allies, they don't necessarily really like us because there's always
That's right.
that
That's
there's always going to be an envy thing there,
Yeah.
oh, the big Americans are so powerful and they want to be that. So there's always going to be that little bit of envy, but they'll play nice with us. It's kind of like when you were in school and you had the big bully. You didn't go up and poke him and go, hey, you're a real loser. I don't like you. You were like pleasant as you had to be, but nobody really liked the bully. And I'm not saying America, their purpose is to be a bully. We're just the big kid on the block, and we always have been. So none of our allies just gush about, oh, America, they're better than we are. It's kind of the Barack Obama thing where everybody thinks they're exceptional, and I'll give them credit on at least that's true, and they should. If you're from Great Britain, you should think your country's the best. But the bottom line is, these allies, who knows what they can say behind closed doors about us, but they all respect us and they all want to work with us. That's the difference now, is that's gone, like you said.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say. So let's look at that now. New Zealand. Well, first, I'm going to mention New Zealand first because they're the ones I think who are being the most honest, which is that they're saying we're out. We can't count on, why? Because the leader of the free world went to a microphone and admitted to the world that the Taliban is securing the perimeter. I mean, I almost had a freaking heart attack when I heard that. I really did, because I was like, oh my God, he really did leave them behind.
I mean, Rich
He
turned
did.
red.
I turned red. Don, I
Literally.
cannot believe he just said that. They're counting on the Taliban to secure perimeters and provide the safety for U.S. citizens and other allied citizens. It's not incompetence. It's not. It's negligent homicide when these people die. I mean, that's what it is. In New Zealand, they hear it too, and they say, you know what? We may have other people there, but it's just too damn risky, so we're out. And they closed their operation today. Germany, France, and the United Kingdom are closing down operations. They have a little bit of way. I think French and the Germans are just lying. I think the Germans probably, maybe the French don't, but the Germans probably do have a significant number of people left, but they have decided that the risk is too great and they are leaving, and they're just going to lie and take their chances. And if a couple Germans end up dead, they end up dead. That's it. That's how it. But they're not going to waste lives anymore on this ridiculous death trap of a situation. And Boris Johnson said, his statement was, we're wrapping it up, but, we believe that we got nearly all UK citizens out, and that anybody who is eligible in the Afghani population, he said the vast majority have been evacuated. In other words, we don't care if there are more Afghanis there that are legitimately able to come to the UK. We don't care. We think we got just about everyone from the UK, and we're gone. Because, I don't know how many people know this, but the planes were under fire yesterday. They were under fire. C-130s, C-17s, even commercial aircraft reported taking small arms fire. That's what the picture, when you see the picture of the flares, guys, the C-17 or the 130 dropping the flares, that's because they're worried about a Stinger missile. Okay? They're trying to, just so you understand. By the way, who gave them the Stinger missiles? We did.
Yep.
To shoot down hens.
Yep.
Score.
No, they're dropping decoys and
Those are decoys. Yeah.
This is insane. It's insane.
It's almost like there's, right, Don, there's almost, there's almost, look, take it for 30 seconds because I get so mad. There's almost nothing else you can say. This is beyond a foreign bad decision. This is beyond a bad decision. This is not worthy of U.S. leadership. It's not.
It's not only tampering U.S., but the nation and then the other nation.
He's killing. The war is yet to come. Foreign U.S. Ambassador Corcoran.
And we're just
take it away.
We're just talking right now about the allies. So you made the comment that the other countries are pulling out. Of course they are, because America's leaving. So their cover is gone. We got to get the hell out of here. They've done a better job getting their people out than we have. That's pathetic. That you had the French, you had Great Britain, you had these people going in and grabbing their own people, going through the checkpoints, going past the Taliban, grabbing their people and getting them out of there. As we sat there saying, well, we can't do it. Our professionals told us just a couple days ago that they could not expand the perimeter. Now they're telling us how the Taliban has expanded the perimeter. I mean, come on, people. This is insane. But we're just talking about allies right now. As soon as we stopped covering for the Afghan army with air cover and all those things, that's when they crumbled. And we just sat there and went, oh, well, that's the way it is. No, do something until we're out and then stop doing that. All the other allies that are leaving because we're not covering anymore, we're turning tail and we're running. But we're not even talking yet about our enemies. Those are the people sitting there going, oh, look at this. That's what's really embarrassing here. And the rest of the world sees it. Our allies know that too. Exactly what we're talking about right now. Our allies are talking about that too.
And I'm going to play an audio real quick of Glenn Greenwald and he points out you have H.R. McMaster running all over the traitor himself, by the way. Mm-hmm. All right, the traitor himself, because of McMaster, because of Jim Mattis. We want to talk about what happened with Joe and Syria and everything. And, because of those chumps, his wife was killed in action when she should have been home. Now, these are the same people who are using this as an attempt to try to reinvade this damn country. I kid you not. All right? And let me just play this by Glenn Greenwald real quick.
Was pursuing foreign policy that, in his view, were insufficiently confrontational with Russia and Syria, constituted surrender, constituted retreat from the world. In other words, he was angry that the person who was elected president,
Donald Trump,
was making decisions that the unelected military official in the White House disagreed with. That's who H.R. McMaster is. He's also somebody, it's worth remembering, who was part of this horde of senior military officials.
It's a good word.
That from almost the beginning of President Trump's administration, the corporate media was insisting these were the people, not the elected president. These were the people, these generals and admirals, who are going to save America from the president we had just elected.
You remember that Politico piece?
Yep.
The decisions, the foreign policy decisions of Donald Trump. This is what the media narrative was here just 6 months into President Trump's presidency in August 27th.
Boom. Yep. Okay. And I mean, this is, this is how you have that. And then you have the lies from people like, oh, by the way, Meghan McCain. How you feel now? Okay?
You're
how you feel now? You silly, silly girl. I mean, I don't, but you have the lies from people like, I'm trying to find this one guy. It was a perfect example.
I just want to say,
go ahead,
for the record,
there it is, Ian Martin.
That it is amazing that somebody managed to destroy the world in 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
In 8 months.
The Middle East, Eurasia.
He didn't even take a year.
And his own country isn't doing so great either, Laura. $3.5 trillion.
I said
inflation is going to go gangbuster. Americans feel it. That's why the registered voter economic confidence index cratered like we designed it not to crater like that, Don. We attempted to design it to be not volatile.
To Laura's point, spot on. Come on. I think most of us, we knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
But we didn't know it was going to be this bad, this fast.
This fast?
Oh my goodness. We're only that far into it. Oh my goodness. What else is going to happen? Like I said, he's going to go try to get that political capital back. We're going to go to war with somebody. He's going to throw a dartboard at a world map, and wherever it hits, that's where we're going to war.
That's so true.
Wow.
And that's what, again, talking with them on the gaggle, that is the history of foreign policy blunders. Don is 100% correct. And you think this is over now? It is not. Corcoran's right. The war is yet to come. And it's not just Afghanistan. Someone's going to test us soon. Joe's going to try to, the administration. Joe isn't doing anything but taking speech therapy classes and getting boosters. All right.
And he needs them.
And he needs them. We didn't even get into that. I'm debating whether to drop that bomb. All right. Especially after what I saw yesterday.
Yep.
Okay. I believe that person is telling me the truth now. All right. So, I didn't disbelieve him before, but it's huge. It's a big accusation. But anyway, like this idiot, you have the people Glenn was talking about, and then you have this guy from the Times, right? Ian Martin, Republicans demanding that Joe Biden resign for implementing Trump's deal to flee Afghanistan, leaving it to the Taliban and ISIS, this is a cross-party American disaster. It is a cross-policy American disaster, idiot. And that's why they couldn't stand Donald Trump, because he wasn't playing ball. This is not Trump's plan. And I'm getting sick and tired of hearing what is either blatant dishonesty or ignorance to the point that you shouldn't have this job. All right? That's simple. Biden postponed the withdrawal until the fighting season. I don't, I'm getting
Trump
if you
postponed.
No, Trump had it during the off season.
Yeah.
The withdrawal, Biden postponed it until the fighting season.
Oh, okay.
I said
Sorry,
it right.
I misunderstood you. Sorry.
And if you don't know that about Afghanistan, then shut the hell up. And I'm saying, Don, Taliban would have taken over anyway. But it would have been 4 months later with Americans nowhere around. So who cares?
Number one, what he was doing when he delayed that and said August 31st, he was playing chicken because he's big, because he's John Wayne, and that was as close as he could get to September 11th. That's what he was doing.
No,
but
man,
listen,
you're so right, man. Yes.
This is something nobody
wanted to be a hero, Don, on the anniversary.
He wanted that political capital.
Preach it,
but,
brother.
But listen to this, because this is something I haven't heard anybody talk about, and this is so important, and it's in his own words. Yeah, I do videos like that. Anyway,
hey, who does that? Yeah.
So
that's a good one yesterday.
So what he says is, we all know that Donald Trump had the May 1st deadline. So that was gonna be the date, right? So what he's claiming is, because of Donald Trump's deal, it allowed the Taliban to get stronger and stronger by the month. So somehow now somehow now you're supposed to believe that May 1st was bad before they got stronger and stronger over how many months until the end of August. So it was smarter to let them get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and then pull them out. Think about that. There's no logic whatsoever to that. And nobody has asked him a single thing about that. Nobody's asked the McMasters or any of these other people about that either. He said that they got stronger because of Trump's deal. So therefore he waited several months to pull them out. Duh. That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And Don, we hadn't lost a soldier in 18 months.
Right.
This was the biggest loss of American life in a single day in over a decade. And let me just say, so you have no logic there, but he postpones it. I think you're right. I think he was trying to get a political win.
Not to mention
John Wayne.
I'm getting to the list.
Okay.
Biden but I want to make this clear how this was not the Trump plan and the difference. And in order to know it and really understand it, you have to know Afghanistan. And these people are relying on your ignorance to this country and how this war was fought and how it was executed for 20 years. In order to push their BS, he waited until the dangerous time. Okay? The Taliban isn't, there are always some who are 24/7, 364, 365. But many of these people go back home during the fight when the fighting season is over. Okay, it's literally dictated by weather. They go back home. They go back to their farms. They go do whatever. All right. He postponed till the fighting season. He abandoned Bagram, which we were talking about before. That was not in the Trump plan. He left billions in equipment behind. If you don't, first of all, we know and have confirmed that Donald Trump, that he absolutely demanded that equipment be destroyed. What could not be removed be destroyed. And if you don't think that's true, you were not paying attention for 5 years. Because Donald Trump couldn't even stand that we left oil in the ground in Iraq. He calls us suckers for things like this all the time. So when I am being told that he absolutely made it very clear, no weapons, no trucks, no nothing. Don't leave behind a Q-tip for those SOBs.
Amen.
I 100% know that is Donald Trump's to the core, and he would never have allowed that to happen. And again, this goes hand in hand with Bagram, but he relied on a single point of departure when Trump's plan called for 3. So this idea that this was Trump's plan and that this was inevitable, these are lies, and they're either pushed by dishonest idiots like this or ignorant people who echo the dishonest idiots. But folks, no way, no how Was this disaster inevitable? And the loss of life, sadly, yesterday was not inevitable. People are dead now because Joe Biden wanted a publicity stunt. That's the truth, folks. Because Joe Biden's approval rating on COVID was cratering with the Delta variant, because he was never popular on the economy, because he was never popular on immigration and the border. Oh my God, shocker. You let hundreds of thousands of unvaccinated people troll over our border. Maybe you're not going to be popular. It's incredible. I can't believe it. He was never popular handling China. He was never popular on crime down the line. Or foreign policy, for that matter. Or foreign policy.
If he was really so concerned about people being vaccinated, okay, that's all the more reason that there should have been some kind of plan here. So, like, what about the thousands and thousands of people that they're flying in from Afghanistan, whether they're American citizens or Afghanis? What about them? He doesn't care about that. If he really, really was so focused on getting everybody the jab, he would have jabbed those people before they got on a plane. But it's a little too late when it's chaos and the Taliban's crashing down the gates, and a little too late then. But I'm going to go back to this one more time. This was a game of chicken for him, because everything is a game to this man.
He nailed it, man.
He is always called himself the most experienced foreign policy expert in the history of this country. Incredible. 4 months, they could have got these people out before they're at the gates. They were hundreds of miles away 4 months ago. You bring them into Bagram, you get them out. Donald Trump said that. He had a plan for all that. Get the equipment out, get the people out, all through Bagram. So for him to say that was all part of the plan, that is an absolute 100% lie, and it should piss everybody off.
The real truth, not just us, everybody. And the real truth is what he said on July 8th. The real truth is that he was totally caught off guard. He did not think the country would fall in 3 days. You heard it out of his own damn mouth. He had no idea. This is not Trump's plan. This is not Trump's fault. This was, I really do think he nailed it. I think he wanted it as close to 9/11 as possible. Everybody in that White House knows that I have been right this entire time, which is that he is not popular. He doesn't have a base. He doesn't have anybody who will love him. He didn't win any, I'm not going to get into it, all right? But once COVID collapsed on him, it was all over, and they needed something. So it was the one thing worth sticking the thumb in the eye of the security state, of the administrative state, the deep state, the national security blob, like Glenn Greenwald calls it, whatever you want to name it. It was the one thing that really could have caused him to do that, because he's a loser and has always been a loser. Can we get real now? There are people who are dead. Bob Gates was right, dude. He's a loser who has been wrong about everything for 40 years. Why did we ever expect this was going to change with him in the White House? It's just that even people who knew it and supported him anyway, because we were supposed to return the decency, and he was going to, bring American allies. We're going to have a deep respect for America again. Remember that?
No mean tweets.
No mean tweets. Prestige back to the White House. They all understand, folks, and that's you, Meghan McCain, understand they all knew who Joe Biden was and what he was. They let their anger and their personal beef with this man, their personal hatred of this man, they put everything they knew about Joe Biden aside for that personal beef. That's how disgusting they are.
I'm sure I'm not the only one right now craving a mean tweet.
A mean tweet could have saved their lives. You understand that? A mean tweet, Jack Dorsey, could have saved the lives of the people who died at Kabul, Jack Dorsey, because one single tweet from Donald Trump saying something along the lines of, if one hair on one American's head is hurt, I will vaporize you back into the Stone Age. That would have been it. You think, and by the way, it wouldn't have happened anyway, because he wouldn't have given up Bagram. They would have been evacuating, and if any movement was a whisper of something off, he would have dropped a Moab from whatever hole that whisper was coming out of. You know it, and I know it, dude.
But he wouldn't even have had to. That's the
He wouldn't have
amazing
had to.
thing about it. He wouldn't have had to. Just one side note.
Amen.
For anybody who's seen a recent picture of Jack Dorsey, can you tell him apart from the Taliban?
You're a
'Cause I
scumbag,
can't.
Jack. You're a.
I can't. He could walk.
Well, that's
He
not
could walk
wrong.
right through that. He could walk right through that checkpoint. And they'd be like, "Hey, you're
That's
God willing."
absolutely true. I mean, Jack, you are looking like what was the name of that guy they arrested? He was an American who went to go fight with the Taliban right after 9/11.
Taliban Bob or something.
Yeah, and they let him
Yeah.
go. Jack, that's you, bro. If you weren't sucking on so many fatty lattes every day from Starbucks, that'd be what you look like. You might as well be, Jack. You might as well be. Who's the danger to the country, Jack? Donald Trump or you?
Or the Taliban that's still on his platform.
Or the
Donald
Taliban?
Trump, not on it. Taliban, you're good to go.
Qasem
Because they're not.
Soleimani would
they're
still
good-
be
they're
on
good
there
guys.
too if he wasn't dead.
Yep. Yep. The blind sheik could have an account.
Unbelievable. And Don, I'll tell you, man. I'll tell you what. They lost their minds when he killed Qasem Soleimani. Joe Biden
Yep.
said that it was the most irresponsible thing for a president to do and that Donald Trump has now risked destabilizing the world. No, Joe, you have destabilized the world. Donald
Yeah.
Trump made the world infinitely safer because it would have been Qasem Soleimani's personal bomb maker who would have strapped it to the bodies of people to run into Kabul with. In case you were asleep for that briefing, Joe, all right, they are the ones who constructed all those bombs in Iraq and many in Afghanistan. That was them because, I don't know if you know this, Joe, geography-wise, they share a border with Afghanistan, okay? I don't know if Joe knows that. Is he aware of that?
I don't even think he knows what a border is.
God, they used to police it together to keep opium out, actually.
Think about this for a minute. TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, Orange Man Bad, is now getting people killed.
Yeah.
Not because
That's right.
of
That's
Orange
right.
Man, not because of Trump, because of them.
That's right, Don.
For the rest of these people's lives, Rich, these people are everything is going to revolve around Trump. That's the syndrome. So it wasn't just a hashtag. It wasn't just a insult to somebody. It's a real thing.
Don, people are dead because Meghan McCain was swole. He attacked her daddy.
Mhm.
Okay? I mean, everyone's got their own personal story, right?
Mhm.
But let's be real. There are now people dead because poor Meghan didn't like her daddy attacked by a big bad Donald Trump.
Mhm.
This is the level of maturity we're dealing with.
Well,
Yep.
guess what, Megan? That blood's on your
Bill
hands,
Kristol, Jonah Goldberg. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out
Jonah Goldberg.
Don and I's friend Kurt Slichter, if you didn't check out his column yesterday, I was tempted to read the whole damn thing on air. If you guys didn't read it, you need to read it. It's
Yes.
epic. I mean, it just is so, and it's 100% true. This is
It is.
not just about Joe Biden. This is about all of the people, both parties, who created and perpetuated this lie of nation building, perpetuated this lie of shared values, perpetuated this lie of, the security state's infinite wisdom, and then it's the fault of the people who believe them.
Yep.
And that's it. And you have to take the blame for that now.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I never liked this concept of blaming voters because I always felt like, well, first of all, you know how I personally feel. I actually don't blame the voters because I don't believe something. I'm just going to leave it at that. But there are obviously some. It is absolutely right for us to put the face of those people, to make the Meghan McCains and the Jonah Goldbergs and, and the rest of them. It's right for us and Kurt to make them the face of it.
Yep.
It absolutely is.
Yep.
And it's sad to say, but, first of all, Trump voters were the target of everything wrong for 4 years.
Mhm.
So now, and by the way, those wrong things were fake.
Mhm.
There was no real surge of white supremacy, Don.
Never.
That wasn't real. There was no fascism, Don. That wasn't real. This is fascism, by the way, what we're enduring now.
The anti-fascists are the fascists.
They are the fascists, my friend.
That's how crazy things are right now. There was no Nazis are very fine people. He didn't tell people to drink bleach or shoot poison into their bodies.
Nor did he tell them to storm the Capitol.
Nope. Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that one.
No. I'm just saying it's just all a bunch of garbage. So I'm with you on that. I don't want to blame the voters. I have no problem with somebody voting differently than me. But on this one, you guys all own it. I'm sorry. You thought somehow this guy who spent 40 years in office, who created all of this, all of it, whether it's the crime, it's all of it. Somehow, now that he's demented, he's the solution. He's the answer to all of our problems. No, he's the cause of your problems. So you all own it 100%. So shut up with your Trump stuff. And he inherited a plan. Shut up. Shut up.
Shut up. Just shut up. Right. You just, at this point, you sound utterly ridiculous. The middle of the country, even those who did support the guy, they're not afraid to admit the error of their ways. Obviously, we can see that in the polling. So it is now you, the hateful, left all alone in a corner, you're 15 to 20%, who are still going to die on this hill because you're too shallow and too weak-minded or too damn proud, whatever. But I don't mean proud in a good way. I mean it as in like one of the Bible's, sin kind of pride. All right, to realize, or you know what it is? You're too cowardly to look in the mirror and say, "Damn, Jonah, you were wrong. Damn, Megan, you were wrong." Yeah, Bill Kristol, he's just Kurt is right about him. That column, he talks about him. He's a chameleon. He's whatever he needs to be. Bill Kristol will turn into a pile of steaming dog if you need him to. If you give him $20, he'll do it. All right?
Ready? Wait. Ready? Bill Kristol's
watch it. Oh,
crystal ball is Nate Silver's shiny bald head. Sorry, I had to. Yeah.
You got to watch Laura sometimes. She came up with something yesterday. Go to Getter, folks. Follow Laura on Getter. Even I should put my head down and was just like, oh, damn. It's hilarious.
You'll see why I got
I'm just going to say it rhymes with VP Booker. Okay?
But it ain't Booker.
Because it's so, at this point, it's like, do we need to even have respect anymore? I mean, I respect the voter and I respect the office. And I've always, been that deferent, never put down Barack Obama like I've heard people put him down. Never do that. Never. Bill Clinton, whatever. I mean, people win elections. George W. Bush, I do personally have a problem with because I as a person, I do because...
big problem.
Big problem. I mean, really. I mean, Don, I don't think he deserves any respect because, I like Ari Fleischer, and I've heard all of his excuses in the past. But Ari, you were part of the White House, Ari, and you know damn well you sent Colin Powell to the United Nations to lie. You know you did. Colin Powell knew when he was given that speech he was lying to the world because his boss was making him lie to the world. So this idea that maybe the intelligence was bad and George W. just believed the intelligence, well, if you're that dumb, then you still deserve that kind of, contempt. I have contempt for you. I mean, it's not just Americans. It's scores of Iraqis, scores of, Afghanis that are killed and maimed and injured and scarred in some way, shape, or form by bad decisions that man made. And he did so. He was elected saying he would do the complete opposite. He knew, Don, this idea like the world changed George W. Bush on 9/11. Don, he knew that, the CIA, the ODAs, and the SEAL teams were murdering the people responsible for 9/11. He knew it. George Tenet was telling him. Even people in the military, Colin Powell was, who former general. Look, the guys with the green beanies can handle this. You know what I mean? They're going to meet up with the Northern Alliance, and they're going to murder everybody. Mm-hmm. We don't need to go buck wild and pull in a conventional war. Don't listen to Donald Rumsfeld. George and I know what we're talking about. George Tenet, who was the head of the CIA at the time, we know what we're talking about, and we can handle this, George. We got this. You know, he chose to give in to the military-industrial complex. He chose. We have records to prove. Long Road to Baghdad is Rich's book of the week, okay? It's written by a liberal. I love it. I got it. I own it. It's a must-read. There was plenty of information to at least suggest on that it wasn't worth the risk of whether or not WMDs were real or not. Well, Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with it. And they weren't going to get them from the people in Afghanistan or someone from the Taliban or Haqqani. We're not going to get it because they were too busy running for their lives. When I tell you guys that when I tell you that these people were catching people trying to get to Pakistan, Tora Bora, and just straight kill zone crossfires, all right? It wasn't... They weren't going to be able to put up a fight. Like we're looking at it now that how could they be around all these years later? Well, because you continue to give them a recruiting tool by being there. The people that were there that needed retribution. That was over in 3 months, my friend. 6 months. Well, George W. Bush chose to do that because his friends wanted money.
Well, let's not kid each other either here, because this was a personal thing for George W. Bush.
Of course it was.
And what this was, Iraq. So Afghanistan, that was 9/11, right? And I think a lot of people agree with that today. The reality of Iraq was very simple. This was a man who I believe, I'm going to speculate for a second, but then I'm going to give a fact. I believe this was a guy who for his whole life wanted his father's respect.
And approval. Absolutely.
And approval.
He was never as good as Jeb. Never as good as Jeb. For those who don't know the Bush family story, dynamic.
And this was his opportunity. He was the leader of the free world, the commander in chief. I'm gonna go get Iraq, and I'm gonna make my dad so proud of me that. And so, I mean, there was a personal aspect. I agree with all the military-industrial complex aspect of it as well. But this was a personal thing of, look at me, Daddy. Love me, Daddy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Don is one. Is it true that that Bin Laden was in Abbottabad back in 2007? I really can't speak for that specific intel source, but I will tell you that most people were under the belief even before 2007. Saram was just another source of confirmation for that, but the CIA reported back to Tenet very soon. I mean, early in this conflict. I'm talking about 2003. That it was Bin Laden escaped over Tora Bora and is probably in Pakistan. I mean, that's what people thought for a long time. Nobody thought we were going to enter a cave in Afghanistan in 2007, and that we were going to find Osama bin Laden sitting there. That is bull. That is another lie. And by the way, this current imbecile was the one and only person, so risk-averse, one and only person to tell Barack Obama not to conduct the raid on Islamabad.
He bragged about it. He bragged about it.
This is by the way, he did just the other day again. Mm-hmm. This is this idiot. He pretended, and Laura's like, wait a minute, did I just hear him take credit? He's the one idiot who said he didn't, not to go in and get him.
This is a guy who it's so important for him to be the only guy in the room that chews bubblegum, the only guy in the room who drinks Sprite, the only, whatever it is.
That's to compensate for his lack of intelligence. I'm serious. Because he never shined. Correct. He never shined. Not in school, not in professional life. That is what that is, Don. It's compensation.
Yep. He actually has very, very low self-esteem. Who walks into the Mack truck manufacturing facility, and he just had to tell everybody that he used to drive an 18-wheeler, which is so incredibly disprovable. I mean, that is so easy to disprove. You don't just get behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler and start chugging down the road.
Oh my
Hey,
God.
good buddy. Hey, you don't just do that. So his whole life was in politics.
My God.
It is so easy to disprove that, but he had to. Something within him, some kind of a lack of, whatever it is, just low self-esteem. He had to go, yeah, I used to drive an 18-wheel, and everybody went, oh, really? Oh, they don't believe him. They know
you don't need
didn't.
a CDL, right? As if they don't know you need a CDL.
And you just
stupid
don't go,
idiot.
You don't just go pick up a CDL either.
Right.
There's a procedure here.
Right.
You don't just show up and go, hey, I want to drive an 18-wheeler. And they say, okay, can you see? Yep, I can see. Here you go. Idiots.
Why don't you get in and show me you got a good grip of the stick and we'll sign off on it? Unbelievable.
Well, you seem to fit well in the seat, so here you go.
By the way, don't worry about braking early. I mean, well, Don, it's 1:15. I guess we went over here. Let's go ahead. Let's tell everybody where they can find you, what we got going on tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be extending this. I can't wait till Locals connects our live stream so you and I could just vent over something like this whenever.
Yeah. So we're going to have Mark Osgeist on tomorrow. So the show is noon Eastern time. We were, but I'm going to do something different because this is so incredibly important. We had the Larry Elder interview here a few weeks back, and it was an 18-minute interview. I played just a clip of it, and then I put it up into Locals so you can go listen to the whole thing right now. I'm going to play that whole interview because in that interview, it's all encompassing. It's everything. If you don't know enough about Larry Elder, this will tell you everything you need to know about how he would govern, about his background, how he's viewing all this, how he's running his campaign. And I think with what they're trying to do to Larry Elder, instead of wasting his time where he could be talking to somebody else, because we were going to do that too, bring him on. So I mean to say waste his time, but he should be somewhere else talking to somebody else, because I got 18 minutes of him that tells you everything you need to know. So we're going to play that in its entirety tomorrow on the program. It is so important. This is so huge, Rich. We've talked about this. This is a game changer. We're talking California. If you were to sit down and try to script a way to have a true Republican, a true conservative governor of California, the only way you could possibly do it is by this entire situation that they themselves created. Yeah. There's no other way for it to happen. So this is an incredible opportunity for America, for freedom-loving Americans, for America first. This is amazing. So I'm going to play that.
This would cause reverberations. If that happens, Don, then you can expect Virginia to go too.
Oh my!
The governorship. Absolutely.
Yes. So, and then of course we will have you on, and I'd like to actually, if we could, go over some of the latest stuff you have on what's going on with California.
And we will. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yep. And I'll try to get Larry to support us on putting that out there, because I think this is so important now.
Let's do it.
And then, of course, I'll have Peter Hussey on the program. But I want to make a special announcement. First of all, last night, if you missed the show, we had an interview with Judge Janine Pirro and one with Sean Spicer that I think that was one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done, just because
she's a wonderful person in real life.
She
folks.
is.
Despite what the media says about her, I just love her to death. She's so lovable. I really do.
And despite my elevator story, which you can check that out on the show. So last night, those were the main interviews we had. The Sean Spicer one, though, the understanding the messaging, but then him having to work inside the Trump administration as a messaging guy, because you don't come up to President Trump and go, here's what you should say. Nobody's given Trump talking points. Right. Trump never once said, here, I've got a list, and let's see, I've been instructed to call on. There was no list. He called on everybody. He would stand in front of Marine One for 2 hours.
You for the fake NBC News.
Exactly.
Haters even miss that now. You know it.
But we've got a special thing coming up here starting this Monday. I've got the Stand Up America U.S. show featuring Major General Paul Vallely. He's going to be doing his own show inside the community, donsmithshow.locals.com. It's going to be every Monday at noon Eastern time, and he's going to have amazing guests on. This guy, I told you on the phone the other day.
Perfect timing, my friend. Perfect timing.
I'll say it now because I told you this on the phone yesterday. When I have Ted Nugent on my program, it's an honor for me. I'm a fan. I love the guy, and it's an honor for me to have a Ted Nugent on the show. When Ted Nugent comes on with General Valley, it's an honor for Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different dynamic, but it's going to be a show where it's an open format where we'll be doing these. As I learn more about the live stream, I'll be doing some of these inside of the live stream, but it's an opportunity for you guys to interact with, in this case on Monday, 2 generals. We're going to have Lieutenant General Thomas McInerney. You remember him from Fox News.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, General Paul Valley. So you're going to get to ask these guys questions. They understand this stuff on such a level that we can't even really totally comprehend. So get your questions ready. Be there Monday, noon Eastern time, and ask them. Ask the generals. These guys commanded troops.
They'll tell you the deal. They'll tell you the deal.
Yep.
They'll tell you how important Bagram was and whether it was not much value, of no real value. Oh my God!
And if you've ever been around these guys in person, if you're outside of the TV thing and the interview thing, we're gonna get so shut down because these guys, they pull no punches. They don't play any games. They will tell you as directly as you've ever been told anything before. So I'm worried about that. But it is what it is, you know. They want to shut down.
Give an opening disclaimer. Yeah. In case of disconnection, please visit DonSmithShow.locals.com.
So our goal is to have locals be that backup, right? So if we get shut down on YouTube, then bam, just pop into locals. It's there. You can watch the rest of the show. So we're working out those details, but I just wanted to announce that because that's really huge. But tomorrow, noon Eastern time, the Don Smith Show, Rich, we'll have Peter Hussey, we'll have the full interview with Larry Elder, which you got to listen to. It was such a great interview, and you will totally understand this guy and how he would govern. So I think it's good stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to Peter, too. At this time, I'm sure he's going to have a wealth of information on this and a lot of insight, you know. And it's just a complete contrast to the BS scripted garbage that you're going to hear on television between, A, a group of people who just want to say that it's Donald Trump's fault and it was the same plan, or B, that we need to reinvade Afghanistan. I mean, it's just incredible, not diverse ideas at all, the same old garbage that led us here.
And let me just add this because I've asked Peter to really focus on, because here's one thing I think people really need to focus on is Iran. Look what's happening now. Look at the Bagram Air Base, all the stuff us pulling out of Afghanistan. Iran is going to become a much, much bigger story. So I've asked Peter to really keep an eye on that nuclear program thing that nobody else is talking about. So that's one of the things he'll be doing for us going forward.
Yeah, without a doubt. They're happy as hell right now, and they're gonna have Russia's all stoked. I mean, we should have did this the way Trump had planned the exit, normalized relations with Putin, take him away from being a straw man, boogeyman kind of guy. We needed to put ourselves in a position of stronger relative power. We are 20 years now, way weaker than we were on 9/11, and no safer, and less free. Weaker, less free, no safer.
Yay!
Round of a hand to the permanent ruling class, ladies and gentlemen.
Please clap.
Please clap.
Please clap. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you as always, my friend. We'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Bye, Don.
Sounds good. Bye, Laura.
All right, that's Don Smith, ladies and gentlemen, the Don Smith Show. Always check me out there on Saturday. Tomorrow will be a great show. And then, as always, keep an eye on my locals feed. I just wanted to, before we leave, to give you guys a quick update on where we are. We got the generic ballot coming out. Go and vote on what we're going to call it. You do not need to contribute to vote on the generic ballot. Okay, currently, I have a little generic ballot going out, a little old poll that I got going out. Let's see who's in the lead real quick before we go.
And let's also talk about the polling project.
And that's what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So in the next public polling project, we will be doing a generic ballot. So far, it's a very tight race between just calling it the generic ballot and calling it the generic House ballot, okay? Very, very close race. I'm a fan of the old generic ballot, folks, all right? Generic congressional ballot is what we do refer to when we say it in the prompt to people, but that's all right. Generic House ballot, I like that you guys seem to get the difference between generic congressional and generic ballot, or the House ballot, right? The generic House vote is at 6.7%. I'm probably going to take a survey on our survey software and send it out to everybody in the locals community. That's probably what I'm going to do. But we got about 134 votes right now. I know if I send it out to the locals community, we're looking at like 5,000. So, but it very well may be that the same thing wins, which is generic ballot. All right. We'll see. All right. So vote in it if you haven't already. And then, of course, if you can, contribute to the public polling project, do it. But like I said on here, no pressure. It's a Labor Day project. No, excuse me. I just want to make sure that we do have a generic ballot for the public polling project around this time, because this is now when traditionally we start really hammering that. Okay?
Things are coming.
Yeah, things are coming. People are listening. People are paying attention. And I have a very strong suspicion this generic ballot is going to be wild. And I just can't wait. I want the trend of it. You know what I mean? I want a good solid trend line for it too. So go ahead and do that. Share it far and wide with your friends and family. All right? Like-minded people. Share it with anyone who wants good information. Say, hey, this is a public polling project. This guy's accurate. This guy does it. So we can have good information. Share it far and wide. Oh, and I was going to give you a number. The form has been up for a while. I just didn't share it with you guys. And I shared it yesterday because we had a little bit, what do we have, like $200 or something? That I rolled over, $125 or something. But we're already up to about 1,150. All right, so already nearly a third. So getting very close. All right. All right, with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Don't forget to follow me on Getter at People's Pundit on Getter.
Or Laura.
Follow Laura at Laura Barris on Getter. And you can find her if you follow me already. She is in my profile. So go ahead and give her a follow. She is a funny woman. All right.
Evil.
Over the top, but funny. All right. And of course, you can still follow me on Twitter at peoples_pundit, because some chump took my handle and Twitter doesn't recognize trademark infringement. And follow me on YouTube. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/c/peoplespundit. If you like this video, go ahead and like it. Give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. I don't give a damn. It's supposed to be a free country. But definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell. That'll let you know when we're going to go live. Of course, the best way to follow what we're doing and to interact is locals. peoplespundit.locals.com. By the way, guys, I already built the Labor Day project, and there is room for a few more add-ons. So maybe I'll share it with you guys. Show you what the generic ballot looks like, how it's going to go out in practice, and then go from there. We'll discuss maybe some things to stick on it. Figure we have a little bit of time, so I was thinking adding, in addition to the typical generic ballot, adding which party would you like to see in control of Congress, all right, which is another good measure. In 2014, that was huge for us in helping us understand who was really going to win some of these tight races. And that's why the modeling was right in North Carolina, for instance. But when you added the public polling, it was wrong. Right? A big factor in that was that North Carolinians had been telling us since Labor Day, or before Labor Day, the Labor Day before the election, this is a little bit different, that they wanted Republicans in control of Congress. In Iowa, they wanted Republicans in control of Congress. Remember that, Laura? It was like these battleground states where the polls were showing Democrat Kay Hagan way in the lead, but we knew that was not going to happen. All right, so another great indicator. But we'll talk about all that, okay? I'm going to kick rocks. I'm going to get out of here. We love you guys. We'll see you. Have a safe weekend. Keep an eye on the locals feed.
Love you guys. Deuces.
Deuces. 2021.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends, and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love. Can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Get on a plane and take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, just to give into the need and leave it all behind. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want